Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put
Not good. Believe me, not good.
What's up? I'm sorry. Hello, dissident. See, learned that from my friend Russell. Welcome, one and all, to the Do Dissidents podcast. My name is Keaton Weiss, here with Russell Dobler. What's going on?
Hello.
Pleasant good evening to you all, 577 strong in the YouTube chat. Jake, our producer, is in the house here. 368 strong in the Rumble chat to start the evening. That is what we love to see. So thank you all very, very much for being here tonight. We have a very special show this evening for you guys. A friend of the show and friend of ours now, not just friend of the entity, but friend of Russell and friend of Keaton. Jimmy Dore is here, and we will be admitting him in just a second. I see he signed on, but he must have gotten up and gone and done something. So as soon as he's back in the saddle.
Has he got a spliff there? Is that a spliff?
Yeah. No.
He's got a big spliff.
No.
Wow.
No. Not at all.
It was the pressure got him, man.
No more for Jimmy Dore. But yeah, we will be admitting him as soon as he takes his seat, as soon as he's back in the saddle. But we have a lot going on this evening, folks, and a lot going on this week that we want to get to and announce. We got a big crowd filing in here. We're going to hit our Iron Maiden very, very quickly tonight. I can see 6:48 yeah, here in the YouTube chat already. And so we got some things.
You see how Keaton didn't want to use the dissident plug? This is why I keep trying to get us advertising deals. I'm like, dude, it's fucking floor wax.
I did. Yeah.
Jesus, what's the big deal?
I did not want to do that plug. I just wanted to, obviously, I meant to. I've just, I don't get in the habit of saying the same thing at the top of the show, which is my fault. I should.
You should.
I should.
Well, no, you always say the same thing. You just don't say that.
That's right.
Apple wanted to revive their Think Different campaign. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it.
That's right.
Hang
on a second.
Come on, man.
Let me kill the loop. Beautiful. 678 strong here in the YouTube chat. Now up to 703. Thank you guys very much for being here. All right, folks, we have, like I said, a full show ahead of us tonight. I do want to get a few different plugs in. Number one, it is Sunday night, which means we will be hosting our post-show Q&A, our post-show question and answer talk back over on Rumble. That'll be exclusively on Rumble after the conclusion of the program. That's a cool mug.
That's the Hunter Thompson mug, man. That's what I got for the fundraiser.
Oh, interesting.
It's like a vision board thing.
Very cool. Very cool. How we doing, Jake? I've noticed some person asked if the stream was frozen for everyone on YouTube. It doesn't seem that way, though. Chat seemed to be coming in pretty good, so that's good. So, yeah, we will be doing a post-show Q&A over on Rumble immediately following this program. So once we are done here, go to rumble.com/Do Dissidents and find us over there. Patrons, paid Substack subscribers, and paid Locals members will have call-in access to that Q&A. Everybody else will be able to put their questions in the Rumble chat. So after the conclusion of this show, we will take a 5-minute break. And after we take that 5-minute break, we will do our Q&A portion of the program over on Rumble. On Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, we will have our Patreon, paid Substack, and paid Locals subscriber stream. And on Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving, we will be on at 2 p.m., not our usual 8 p.m. time. Right now, we're going to introduce our guest of the hour, friend of the show, host of the Jimmy Dore Show, and stand-up comedian on tour now, coming to a hollowed-out, meth-addicted hellhole near you. Jimmy Dore is on the program. Can you hear me? I just saw your headphones taken out.
Can you hear me?
I can.
We hear you.
Okay. Keaton, you didn't come see me when I was in Cohoes, New York, even though it was right down the street from your house, right?
That's correct, yeah.
So if you would have gone there, I don't think you would be describing these places as meth-addicted hellholes.
No, it's just that
that was one of the most beautiful.
No, it's a great theaters
I ever performed in my life. It's beautiful.
Well, I went to school up there.
I'm just describing the state of our republic.
Oh, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm just talking about the way that the
not talking about the venue.
Held. No, I'm not talking about the venues. No. I mean, Middle America. That's what it has been reduced to under neoliberalism. I was trying to make a political point, not a point about your audience. No, I would never insult your audience in that way.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I got you. I appreciate that. Because
we only insult our audience.
Yeah, we only insult our audience that way. Yeah, no. Coming to a crack den near you, Jimmy Dore. No, I wouldn't introduce you that way.
I did insult my. I'm playing Palmdale coming up in January, and I don't know if you're into Palmdale, but I made fun of it pretty hard the other day on my show, which I was like, I don't care. The people who like me and live there know where they live, and
right.
And what's more frightening, you know where they live.
I've never been to Palmdale. It's just so far out of Los Angeles. I don't know why you would want to live there unless you're running from yourself. And but I'm going there to tell jokes. So we'll see. But Steph found out that there's 160,000 people that live in Palmdale. Is that what you said? What the fuck? Wow. That's crazy. I didn't know that there's that many people there. But anyway, so it's great. It's great to be with you both. Thanks for having me. And I didn't really brush up on any of the topics.
All right, neither did we.
That's all right. Yeah.
So I'm going to be shooting from the hip. And Joe Biden went to China, I guess. Did he go to China or China come here?
China came here. China came here, and we had to clean up San Francisco.
It was like takeout.
So where did they put those people?
I'm not sure, but we had to get rid of all the homeless people.
Soylent Green!
So it looked more like China. That's what it was. That's the idea. You have to make it look more like communist China with no homeless people. So they hid all the homeless people.
So it's just so I know you're not from California, but I live here now, and as recent as I think 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, I think it was 2 years ago, Governor Gavin Newsom was bragging that we had a $40 billion surplus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
so what's all the tents doing under the bridges, right?
So exactly right.
Exactly.
What
Right.
the hell did you do with all that money? Why didn't you
Right.
guys? Where the fuck? And now they're saying, "Oh, that money's gone now, and we're going back into deficit," which you can't do as a state. But anyway, so now all that money's gone. So I'm like, well, what the fuck did you do with $40 billion? You could have ended homelessness not only in California, but in the entire goddamn country for $40 billion. What did you do with it? And so there's just no, that's why you do a show. That's why I do a show, because the news media in this country is worth a shit, because it's owned by the people who squandered that $40 billion and doesn't want to fix the homelessness problem, because they want us feeling insecure, frightened, and at each other's throats. That's exactly what the news media wants. That's exactly what the billionaires who own them want, because it's not owned by people who care about America or care about anything. Just like they said in 1974, that movie Network, there are no countries, there are only companies and the international exchange of dollars. And that's those people. If we have a civil war in this country, that's good for them. And that's what they're stoking. When you turn on Ali Vesci, when you turn on Anderson Cooper, when you turn on Sean Hannity, that's what they're stoking. They're stoking you to keep hating your neighbor and turning on each other. And so we actually do come to a civil war in this country. I'm pushing back against it. That's what I'm doing. I've had people say to me, what the hell are you doing to help anybody out there doing comedy shows? I'm out there bringing a message to people at $35 a ticket and of coming together. It costs to come together. Everybody knows that. Come on, nothing's for free. There's no free lunch. Everybody's got rent. And but I'll tell you what, I don't have a pool.
That's right. You don't have a pool. You were talking on your show about yesterday. Was it yesterday on the show or no? You don't do it on Friday.
That's a disappointment for me for reasons we will discuss.
I'm a regular.
That's right. Russell's pretty upset to learn you don't have a pool. We can actually announce
what a bummer.
This. So
I thought I was going to hang out by the pool. What do you go to LA for if you're not going to hang out by the pool?
I'm trying to rent the house below me. I live on a slope on a hill, and so the house below me has a pool that they never use, but I can hear it. You know how you can hear the filter, so it's just there.
They're doing that to spite you.
Yes, to taunt me. You know, and so, but they're very nice people, and so I'm going to make them an offer. Can I have use of your backyard pool? And I think, either that or I'm going to put a horse head in their bed. And
there you go.
I think I'm going to get that. I think we're going to get that done for you, Keaton. I mean, for you, Russ. I think it's going to happen.
All right, let's explain what we're talking about here, because we teased this out on the last show because Russell and I raised some money to visit the early primary states to do some on-the-ground election coverage in January.
You did?
We were going to go to Iowa and New Hampshire, but now we pushed it back. We're going to go to New Hampshire and South Carolina, and the reason we cannot go to Iowa is because, who wants to announce it? One of you two.
I will be guest hosting for the man himself, Mr. Jimmy Dore. Much to his surprise, we're going to be covering all the Marvel movies. Disney gossip.
Subs, believe me. Yeah.
Jada Pinkett Smith, what's going on there? It's going to be a very different show, but we're going to take it in a different direction. Steph likes it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so Russ will be hosting the Jimmy Dore Show, I guess, from the 8th to the 15th of January. Is that correct? Is that the dates you guys worked out?
I'm going on a vacation with my brother and his wife and my mother-in-law. So a lot of people wouldn't say that sounds like a vacation. But Steph won't even go. But it'll be great. I love my mother-in-law. She's the mother I always wished for. Because my mom died, and so it's going to be great. And then Russ is going to fill in, and then I'll call in every day to tell him what he did wrong.
Yeah, fair enough.
There you go.
Fair enough.
Notes.
Well, I'll be getting notes. Both of you will be calling me to tell me.
Don't bury the lead.
We've been working on that. We've been working on that.
I mean, we're just collaborating. Like, okay, so how do we get Jimmy 2 strikes in 1 week? What can we cover? What can we cover?
So I'm on one of those right now. So that would be catastrophic.
I know you have to be very careful. I'm making him read the rule book very carefully, and don't worry, you're in good hands.
No Unabomber segments.
Yeah, I'm coaching him. We are
at least not positive ones.
Yeah,
you can't deny. I got it for denying
Israel.
Denying that this a certain amount of casualties that Hamas committed on October 7th. I wasn't, even though they can lie and say that they cut off babies' heads. You don't get a strike for lying in the affirmative. You get a strike if you say the opposite. But now we're learning, aren't we, that it was a lot of those people. I don't know how many, but definitely a lot of those people were killed by the Israeli IDF forces themselves. A lot of Israelis were killed. And, the more I look into this, the more it just doesn't seem to add up. I don't know, but I always thought that Netanyahu and the IDF and the Mossad were on the up and up, and why would they ever lie? But
no,
they just got caught with their pants down. They just got caught with their pants down. That's all that happened. They didn't have a larger agenda that they're trying to implement right now. They're not trying to put a canal across fucking Gaza with nuclear bombs. They're not trying to do any of that.
Like I said, I'm practicing with Russell. IDF, safe and effective. Right?
Safe and
the rule.
effective.
That's
it.
I
Mossad.
got it. We're
Safe
doing
and
this
effective.
every day. We're running drills for you. Don't worry. All righty, let's get started. Let's do some material, shall we? Here's some good comedy. Here's Donald Trump in Iowa because, as the world falls apart, Donald Trump is still, in post-2016 mode. Here he is talking about how Melania believed him when the Steele dossier came out, how she never bought the golden showers story, luckily for Donald Trump. So here he is on the campaign trail, hard at work, as always.
He was with 4 hookers. You think that was good that night to go up and tell my wife, it's not true, darling. I love you very much. It's not true. Actually, that one she didn't believe because she said he's a germaphobe. He's not into that,
That one she didn't believe.
He's not into golden showers, as they say they call that. He's not. I don't like that idea.
No. Typically, when I deny my affair, she slaps me in the face and takes my credit card to Bergdorf Goodman's. But this time, she actually believed me when I denied this one. So there's Donald Trump.
Can I just say
The cat
that
was named Vagina.
So, on Twitter, of course, the shit libs yesterday were all had their bush in a knot that Donald Trump said golden showers. And they're saying, "Oh, what a horrible president! He said golden showers." It was the maniac, the bloodthirsty, homicidal maniac, who you wanted to be president, Hillary Clinton, that invented that lie about golden showers.
Exactly.
Which is why he has to now come out and deny it, right? So, but that was okay. And then they also denied that they created that lie, and then they denied that they funded that lie for over a year. They lied to the FBI that they funded that Steele dossier. So. Again, of course, up is down, black is white. Whatever the shit libs on Twitter think, the exact opposite is true.
Yeah, they created that lie with the help of the Russian government, ironically. With a Russian national. Yeah.
Ironically, yes. And but I feel like I should wave a cowbell in your face just for saying that.
Yeah, right, exactly. That'll shut me up. But here's some more. Sorry, Russell, go ahead.
Well, Jimmy, as a comedy guy, when you watch Trump do a bit like that, do you think of Rodney Dangerfield in a Slobs versus Snobs movie? Like, that's what he's doing, right? And people love that story, right? They love that arc.
People love that story. Also, I heard someone say the other day that George Bush, when he made his first malapropism, I think he was running for governor or something, that he was embarrassed and they tried to correct it, but then they found out his poll numbers went up. And so they found out that every time he did that, his poll numbers went higher. And it's kind of like the indictments to Trump. Every time they indict him, his poll numbers go up. Every time George Bush talked like a moron, I think it's because people felt like they could relate to this moron, unlike the polished politician. And so, so it's the exact opposite. So Trump is doing that thing. He's, as they used to say of Chris Christie, he's got a lot of political talent.
Yes, but only for real in this case.
Yeah, for real. Chris Christie actually didn't have a lot of political talent. Because he was just a blowhard and people saw through it. And he tried to tell you that the people fucking up this country were teachers. Public school teachers were the assholes.
Well, let's go on to some more good news for Donald Trump here. Three major recent losses is the effort to knock Trump off ballots in 2024 over. The idea landed in legal and political circles with a big splash over the summer. Donald Trump had already lost his chance at another term because of his effort to overturn the 2020 election. But in recent weeks, the theory that a little-tested post-Civil War provision in the 14th Amendment disqualifies the former president from taking another shot at the White House has been dealt a series of setbacks, with courts in 4 states knocking the idea down, at least when it comes to next year's primary elections. The latest decision arrived Friday from a Colorado court, which ruled that the provision doesn't cover presidents. Minnesota's Supreme Court last week ruled that primary elections are internal party matters. A Michigan court on Tuesday said state election officials don't have the power to resolve the question. A federal court in New Hampshire last month tossed a long shot bid from a little-known GOP candidate who raised the same issue. So this was a thing, obviously, one of the many plays in the deep state playbook to try and disqualify Trump in 2024 that don't involve, violence of any kind, was to get him off the ballot because he incited an insurrection. So they were going to invoke a clause in the 14th Amendment to try and disqualify him. And it seems as though that effort has hit a snag. Now, Russell still maintains that the deep state, by hook or by crook, will not allow Donald Trump to be the president again. Jimmy, you said, I think when we were on your show, that you think the Republicans will sandbag him before he gets the nomination. Do you still think that's going to happen?
I think that's the way it will happen. Again, I'm not good at predicting things. I didn't think the Democrats would run Joe Biden. So what do I know? But my prediction is that's the way they will take him out, because if the Democrats do it, it will cause too much of a problem, and people will probably revolt, and then there will be an actual insurrection.
Right.
So I think that what they'll do is they'll have the Republicans somehow find a way to knock him off their own ballot. I don't know how they would do it. I don't understand why they're waiting to just JFK him. And then just to find some patsy who says that I was upset that he's a racist. Why? I don't know why they can't do that. They got that DePepe guy. And by the way, I don't know if you saw, they're blaming me for that in the news reports.
What are they blaming you for?
Which?
Yeah, so they're having that trial on, and I don't want to change the subject. We'll talk about it later. But anyway, I don't know why they don't JFK him. Have you thought about that? I mean, that would be a nice message to I mean, it seems like
yeah, that would be a nice message. Well, that's what Tucker Carlson said very famously, that we're hurtling towards that, and that they'll stop at nothing to stop him, because you're right. Like, if he gets to the general election and they try any of these maneuvers, it'll be too late by that point to, I think, stop real deal instability, like real insurrection, real civil war. If he is the nominee and they pull something like that at the last minute. But Russell has long said, by hook or by crook, all options are on the table when it comes to stopping him from becoming president. Right, Russell?
Yeah, I don't think there's any way they let that man walk back into the White House unless he's on a tour, and even then they'll close for the day. There's just no way there. And okay, so take it with a grain of salt, because it's the libs that are getting excited about it. The Colorado court that struck down the suit did say that Trump led an insurrection.
Yes.
So they're arguing, well, that left the door open to the Supreme Court making a decision that he can't. So basically it boils down in that decision to the question of whether this statute applies to a president or whether it only applies to others.
Didn't he appoint, how many Supreme Court justices did he appoint? Three?
Yeah.
3.
He's got those 3 votes. He just
it seems very
does
unlikely
he,
the
though?
Supreme Court.
Does
it seems
he, though?
very unlikely the Supreme Court would rule against him on that, because the judiciary seems to be the branch of government that actually takes the structure of the republic seriously. Like, they have the most regard for the system itself. Now, that's not saying a lot.
Yeah,
That's
we
more an
thought
indictment of the
that
other
at
two
Gore v.
branches.
Bush.
Well, like I said, that's more an indictment of the other two branches than it is a sort of than it is high praise for the court. But I believe, since these lower court rulings are going against them, that the Supreme Court ruling will probably go against them as well, meaning they'll probably allow Trump on the ballot.
There's still. I just saw another segment on MSNBC where all 3 talking heads were saying that if Trump becomes president again, it will end democracy. Well, he had 4 years to end this democracy. Why didn't he do it? Like, what did he do as president that was so horrific? They can't point to anything. And if he was going to end democracy, why didn't he do it then? And if he was going to rule as an authoritarian fascist, COVID was the perfect time for him to do that. And what he did was he delegated to all the governors. He gave away. He decentralized the power of COVID. So it's the up is down, black is white, but people will believe anything you tell them on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News. They will believe it. They just believe, and especially if they put it in the New York Times and the Washington Post, that means it's super real. And so people just believe that stuff. It's just when I talk to regular people, I'm in comedy clubs and comedy green rooms all the time, and I ask those people, is there anything you hear on television that you don't believe? And they never have a response. Never. I go, is there anything you hear that you don't believe? And they never, ever have any response to that. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's wild. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I've put that question to a lot of friends that I don't hear from anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you guys, at least someone else is losing friends besides me. I think it's great.
We all have in this space, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you tell the truth about what's actually happening in politics, they'll, that's it. They're done. They call you a Trump or a right winger. Oh, no, I don't know if you saw Anna Kasparian from TYT now is not going to vote for Joe Biden. Now, this is where that if somebody's supposed to come call her a right winger and a Trump supporter and a right wing grifter. That's what they're supposed to do at this point. But of course, no one's doing that. So.
Well, Jordan Peterson, in spite of his new Batman villain wardrobe, actually said something very insightful about that.
When you go to Jordan's house, everything's crooked like that.
Yeah. One side is clean, one side is dirty. He did say, because when Anna, made her pronouncement about wanting to be called a woman and not a person with ovaries, all the Young Turk farm system people turned on them.
That's right.
And Peterson tweeted out, your children are hungry and you're on the plate. So that, I thought, hit it on the head. I was surprised he paid that much attention to what goes on in that sector of YouTube. But
me too, because he still pretends to not know who I am, which is nice. That's a nice trick.
Yeah.
Well, right now he only wants to talk to Tony Robbins.
Really? Is he talking to Tony Robbins?
Tony Robbins did a thing with him, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Pretty recently, yeah.
All right, let's. You want to move on to segment number 2 or no?
Tony Robbins is, ironically, was the straw that broke the camel's back that got me to do comedy.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I was
That's
watching
right. Yeah, you've told this story before.
I was watching one of his infomercials, how it came on regular television, and he said something. It was something about, do you want to be 70 years old and asking yourself, what if I would have did this, or what if I would have? It was something like that, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. That's right. So at least I'll know. At least I'll know because the worst thing would be to get to 70 years old and go, I wonder if I could have did it. And at least if I failed, I would have known, hey, I tried it and I didn't have it in me. So, yeah, that was but I was close to doing it. And that was just the final nudge. And I think Tony Robbins, a lot like, Wayne Dyer and people like that.
Right.
Well,
right.
they're not while they don't live their life consistent with their words are they're mostly just quoting other people. And so their quotes, you can still get a lot out of someone like Tony Robbins or someone like Wayne Dyer, even though, personally they might be not what they appear to be.
I mean, for me personally, during the pandemic, I went through a lot of life changes like everybody did. And I actually got a lot out of some of the Tony Robbins stuff.
You should try estrogen replacement.
Yeah. I didn't want to change that much. Not that fundamentally. But no, I was listening to some Tony Robbins stuff because I was, trying to get my head on straight and figure out where I go from the apocalypse. It helped a lot. It's like you said, you got to know where its limits are. I'm not gonna be, not to insult anybody who might have done it. I'm not going to sign up for the courses. I'm not doing that. But there's a lot of his stuff that's just out there for free to listen to. And I did get a lot out of that. I did at that time. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, he just repackages a lot of wisdom that's been around for a lot of time.
Right.
Which is, and whichever medium it comes to you, and that's fine. If it comes through him, if it comes through Deepak Chopra,
sure.
If it comes through Eckhart Tolle, if it comes through Wayne Dyer, whatever floats your boat. That's all. It's the message that matters, not the messenger.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of his stuff, it's really cognitive behavioral therapy.
Right.
It's rewiring your brain through visualization. And also what I really adopted during that time and have continued is I always thought very inside out. And a lot of that stuff is outside in. A lot of it is very physical. A lot of it is changing your body to change your mind and your attitude and the way your neurochemistry. I adopted a lot of those techniques. Do you know Wim Hof?
Yes.
I take a cold shower every day. ever since that time.
He used to tell me about that all the time.
Oh, so like I think one of the things maybe I learned from Tony Robbins, maybe someone else, but like if you actually smile, it actually makes you happy. Like that kind of that's what you're talking about outside in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I was always very skeptical of that, like a lot of heady people. You know, I was always skeptical of how your body could affect you. But it works.
You could train yourself. Actually forcing yourself to smile helps.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. All right. Shall we do Xi Jinping in California?
The audience is like, what did we walk into? I had no... I did not know they were going to go all woo-woo tonight.
Every time the Trump subject and them trying to keep him off the ballot comes up on my show, I can't help but bring it back to Cornell West. And what he just exposed himself to lack the courage it takes to make any significant change or to mount any fight against the establishment. He revealed himself to not have the cojones to do it, and was very cowardly what he did on my show. And he pretended to not see the connection between Stop Cop City and Donald Trump's prosecution, even though it's the same RICO statute and the same exact goddamn grand jury. And then he pretended that a bunch of and that Trump tried to interrupt the peaceful transfer of power on January 6th. And that would have been true had he ordered the military to take over, but he didn't do any of that. He just told Pence to go do something, which is under the advice of his own counsel. So that couldn't be further away. And so there's Cornell West pushing a bullshit conspiracy theory that aids who? It aids Joe Biden, the Democrats, and the establishment. And that's his message. That's basically his fucking message. And so I can't help but bring it back. And every time it comes up, I get a little angrier. It actually, I got so blindsided on my show by Cornell West. I did not think he was going to be that big of a fraud when he came on my show. And so I was kind of like, I was blindsided. And so afterwards, I was just like, whoa. And I was that way for at least a week or two. But since then, I've come more clear and more clear that Cornell West is a pretender, and he's actually is the establishment. And he did, once it hit me that I'm the one who grew up poor. I'm the one who grew up drinking powdered milk till I was in 6th or 7th grade. I'm the one who didn't have his own pair of goddamn shoes until he was in high school. I'm the one who did that. I'm the one who got his head beaten in every fucking day at Catholic school, came home, got my head beaten in, went out to the park and beat the shit out of other people. I'm that guy, not him. He's been living in fucking ivory towers for the last 45 years. Not hard to be a radical at fucking Harvard, or all it takes is to not get a haircut. And so... I can't. I was wondering if you fellas feel the same way. Because there was such an opportunity for him to do something, and he's throwing it away. And I saw Chris Hedges on Brianna Joy Gray. Saw a clip on Twitter of him pretending that Cornell West is real still, and and both those guys missed COVID. I get you missed COVID, but now's a good time to make up for it. They just won't do it.
Well, the thing about Cornell was part of what was exciting to me about Cornell was always that it kind of felt a little too good to be true, like from the start. Yeah. Because he's an academic. He didn't seem like someone who was really willing to put himself out there to be nadered, really willing to put himself out there to burn every bridge that he had built throughout his academic life and his professional life outside of academia as a speaker, as an author, and things like that. Is he really willing to burn bridges at CNN? Is he really willing to be on bad terms with Anderson Cooper for the rest of his life? I always thought, I can't believe he's actually doing it. But when he switched to the Greens, I was like, well, maybe he is actually doing it. And that's part of what was exciting. But part of that excitement was also that, like, I can't believe Cornell's doing this, right?
He was willing to burn bridges with the Jimmy Dore show. With the RBN network, he is not willing to burn bridges with anybody of consequence who can give him a speaking engagement or a book deal or an invitation to a corporate news show. He's not going to burn those bridges whatsoever.
Well, that's why I always tell people who say, anyone in our lane, we get called grifters, right? And I always say, listen, we're not dumb guys, man. this is not the way you grift. The way you grift is you go full Pod Save America.
Yes.
Or you go full Daily Wire. You pick one of those lanes.
That's right.
And then not only do you get in on that money, you get in on the DNC money, you get in on the RNC money, you get in on the PAC money from their affiliated organizations. That's how you make money in this space. To do this, I mean, Jesus, it's masochistic. Like, this is not the way.
Like during Trump, the money was in Russiagate. Look all the books.
They made a fortune.
There were entire podcasts. That podcast Mueller she wrote. It was an entire Russiagate podcast. She got like $100,000 of Paycheck Protection Plan money when they were handing it out as part of either the CARES Act or whatever came after the CARES Act. She got like $100,000 of government money to run a fucking podcast. She's like, what is it? 3 people to take just an audio show, not like your thing where you got cameras and all this crew. She runs an audio podcast. She took all this money from the government to run a stupid fucking thing. There were entire projects built around Russiagate. That blog, the Empty Wheel blog, the Marcy Wheeler, who like entire projects got funded and grew off of that.
Just look at Rachel Maddow, right? So she was the premier. She was the out in front on Russiagate. There wasn't any crazy conspiracy that she wouldn't repeat or make up on her own show. And what happened to her? Did her career take a nosedive? Did she have to pay a price for any of that? No. What she got was rewarded with a contract that pays her $100,000 a day. A day.
Well, Russell yelled at her. That was the price.
I yelled at her. So that was a consequence.
Got to hear from her. Do we want to do this China thing? What do you think?
Sure.
All right, let's do it.
Boom.
All right. The APEC conference was last week in San Francisco. APEC, APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, not to be confused with APEC. So APEC, slightly less insidious organization on the world stage. Here's President Xi Jinping talking about China's influence on the rest of the world should it emerge as the dominant superpower. Here he is. Oops, I'm sorry.
Whatever stage of development it may reach, China will never pursue hegemony or expansion and will never impose its will on others. China does not seek spheres of influence and will not fight a cold war or a hot war with anyone. China will remain committed to dialogue and oppose confrontation and build partnerships instead of alliances. It will continue to pursue a mutually beneficial strategy of opening up. The modernization we are pursuing is not for China alone. We are ready to work with all countries to advance global modernization featuring peaceful development, mutually beneficial cooperation, and common prosperity, and to build a community with a shared future for mankind.
All right. Now, to the rest of the world, what sounds better, that or the calls for a ceasefire are outrageous? Yeah, woohoo! Kill, murder, bomb! Yeah. That seems like a pretty good deal to me. Seems like a pretty good deal to me that he's offering.
Now, don't you worry when you play clips like that you'll get demonetized?
Under 5 seconds.
If it's under 5 seconds, I think they allow it.
Oh, no kidding.
That's why if you ever see those video essays with mashups of movie scenes, the cuts are all quick because I think they allow you to cut them quickly. Because then you're repurposing it is the idea.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, again.
Plus, we had you on. We're going to get demonetized anyway.
People have been,
may as well.
People have been fed a bill of goods about China, and not that I'm, Danny Haifong or anything, but they have a much more sober. They're instead of going around the world and trying to gain influence by bombing the shit out of them, decapitating their leaders, and installing puppet dictators that oppress their own people, like the United States does. They're going around trying to help them build infrastructure and actually make their lives better and gain influence in those parts of the world that way. And people like Dylan Ratigan tried to make that seem like some kind of nefarious plot that we have to stop. Oh my God, Jimmy, they might build a bridge. They're investing in ports. We can't have this.
I think it was Vijay Prashad who tweeted out because he went to Asia on a trip and he spent some time in South Korea, free South Korea. And then went to, communist China across the border. And he took a picture. South Korea, you had, tent encampments under bridges, desperately poor people living out on the street. Said, this is South Korea. None of this across the border in China. that absolute hellhole, right?
Although to be fair, I had the same experience going to Buffalo and then riding across the Peace Bridge into Canada.
They don't have homeless people in Canada, eh?
You don't have the crumbling buildings that you have on the Buffalo side. You come from the Buffalo side, it's all these broken factories and just collapsing roofs. You go over to Canada, it's very neat, very orderly. I'm not saying they don't have it, but
I was just in Wilmington, Delaware, and that's Joe Biden's country.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like that place got bombed out, like they haven't rebuilt it since the World War II or something. But that's another one of those cities, Wilmington, Delaware, used to have 120,000 people in it, and now it has 70. And so there's just no way it's not going to feel empty and hollow when you're walking around. And all the buildings seem very old because they are, and they're not being kept up or anything. The streets were clean enough, but again, we are Brazil. The United States is Brazil. And the people who actually run this country, which is not the people in Congress or Joe Biden, it's the handful of billionaires that run the whole goddamn world. It's the people from the WEF, the Bill Gates, those people. They don't have. In fact, it's the plan to keep it getting worse. I think the hollowing out of America, not only the middle class, but the infrastructure, the everything. It's to keep us afraid and to turning towards more authoritarianism, willing to give up our rights. It's 9/11 policies continued. That's all it is. And now, so anyway, I'll stop. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. There's another scene from later on in the conference that Russell actually sent me of Joe Biden referring to the Chinese president as a dictator, and you could see the look on Tony Blinken's face. You can watch his face sink as Biden gives this most unfortunate answer.
He lost his poker face.
See, this we couldn't play because the video would get demonetized, but I set this to the Curb Your Enthusiasm music and tweeted it out. I called it Curb Your Imperialism because that's what this is here. So let's take a look.
Mr. President, after today, would you still refer to President Xi as a dictator? This is a term that you used earlier this year.
Well, look, he is. I mean, he's a dictator in the sense that
Oh, boy.
He's like, I spent 3 days getting that guy drunk on rice wine, and you fucked it all up.
Yeah. Yep.
Didn't they go over that? Didn't they predict that question to come?
I'm sure they did, and I'm sure they practiced it, and I'm sure Biden whiffed, which is why he was like, oh, my God. Oh, what am I going to do? If you notice, Blinken is like his puppet. Like Blinken is near Biden all the time. Whenever Biden talks to a camera, it seems like he's hovering around. He's pretty much running the shots here. When it comes to foreign policy, we have President Anthony Blinken.
So it's kind of like Blinken is Radar O'Reilly, and Joe Biden is Colonel. What is his name? I forget his name.
Colonel. Oh God, what was his name? I don't even remember. We got smart people in the chat. They'll know.
Yeah, they'll know.
Yeah, they'll fill.
McLean Stevenson, whatever his character's name was.
What? Creeper? No.
Remember when McLean Stevenson left the show because he was going to go out and then he did, and that was it. His whole career ended. He did Hello Larry for one season, and I think that was that.
That very often happens to these guys who leave these hit shows thinking they're going to have a movie career.
Yeah,
and then they crawl back like 2 seasons later if it's still on.
Well, that guy from NYPD Blue, David.
Yeah, that's exactly who I was thinking of. What was his name?
Yeah,
the red-haired guy, David Caruso. Exactly.
Yeah, he went on to do NCI, whatever, but that came way later.
Yeah.
He tried to do some movies, and I saw it, and it sucked.
Jade.
Yeah, Jade. Yeah, that's the thing.
I can't believe
he left that show
remember
because
that.
he wanted to do movies, and then he did that big movie, and it bombed. Yeah. It was
Blake.
Oh, that's right, Colonel Blake.
I told you people would know that.
To those in the chat.
And then they replaced him with Colonel Potter, which wasn't half as entertaining as McLean Stevenson was. Hey, remember Klinger? That's back when you could laugh at a guy in a dress. Remember that? That's when that was funny.
Yeah, yes, you could.
I wonder if they still play those on reruns now, because that would be politically incorrect to show everybody laughing at Klinger in a dress, right?
Well, you know what they can never show again? Ace Ventura.
Right.
Why? What happened?
Because the big reveal at the end was that Sean Young was trans.
Yeah, the ingenue was a cross-dressing football, right? What was it?
Well, she was
girl,
like
one of the girls in the movie. One of the hot girls.
Sean Young, yeah,
was the man. Yeah.
yes.
Oh, that's so funny.
And that, oh no, there's a whole scene where when that's revealed, there's group projectile vomiting.
Yeah, yeah.
Like everyone projectile vomits at the revelation that she's really
they
a
can
man.
never show that again.
They can never show that movie again, like erased, gone
I didn't
I
remember
never
forever.
saw that. I never saw that movie. But Sean Young, when I was in Hartford, called me up and she wanted to come to the show. She goes, she was anyway. But so I've been friendly with Sean Young. I haven't actually met her.
Okay.
Well, you should watch that movie then. She had a big role in that, big part in that.
I should talk to her. I think she lives in Atlanta now.
Oh, does she?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big Blade Runner fan.
Oh, that's what she was into. I'm not up.
She was the love interest. She was like the femme fatale in that.
Oh, okay. I'm not up on movies. I don't know.
Folks, we will take super chats at the end of the segments. I don't want to make Jimmy sit through me reading super chats, so don't worry, we will get to those. All right, you want to do a little Crystal and Sagar?
Well, let's do a super chat.
Let's do a super chat. All right, if you say so. Here we go. These bitches want Nikes for $5. Said always got a bad Zionist vibe from Sasha Baron Cohen. Yeah, we're gonna cover that later.
Yeah.
The Jewish B&B scene from Borat, the entirety of the dictator, shocked people are surprised by this. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we'll get to this later, but that a guy who really made his bones doing really a caricature of the Muslim world, which is what he was doing with Borat.
Yes.
I mean, he was great at it. It was funny, but yeah, I could see how you could see that coming.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to cover that later, but for a comedian to in any way want to impinge on free speech, especially a comedian like Cohen, who really pushes buttons and does things that if people wanted to break your balls for it, you could get, he has been sued. You could get arrested. He ran naked through the Wellington Hotel in New York. You're going to go break people's balls? Come on, man.
Yeah, he's been CIA the whole time.
Do you think so?
You don't think?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe Mossad.
Maybe Mossad.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Same thing.
I mean, I'm telling you, ever since I did that Maddow thing in a synagogue, I sleep with one eye open.
Well, he played a Mossad.
I'm worried they're going to come with the piano
Remember
wire
he did
and
that
get
movie.
me.
He did that series, which was really not good. The first episode of it was good. I think it's Who Is America or something, where one of his characters was a Mossad agent. Actually played a Mossad.
Oh
agent.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I never saw that.
Maybe
saw
that's
that.
the real him, and maybe he is a character in real life.
Yes, he did a great job with that. He's amazing.
He's
actor.
extremely talented. I mean, he's up there. You know, he's like a Chaplin-esque kind of talent. You know, I mean, he's amazing. But yeah, just a total hypocrite.
Mossad, pretty sure they got into my phone. So I have a guy. I think I told the story, but they hacked into my iCloud account when I was on a plane, and
because you had your Twitter was hacked for a while.
And, they did that. They got into my computer and then they went into my Twitter, and so I have a guy who's a security specialist. He used to be hired by governments to hack into their systems to find vulnerabilities. He's ex-military intelligence himself, and so when I told him that happened on the plane, he was like, "Holy shit, Jimmy! Even I couldn't do that." And he said, "Why would they spend so much time on you? Because that takes a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy to hack into your phone. Easier to get into your computer." And so it turns out they used Pegasus. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that's so like, I don't know if you remember the San Bernardino shootings in California, and they couldn't get, the FBI
where they wanted to get into the iPhone. Right?
I couldn't get into the iPhone, and then it was the Israel, the Mossad, who got into the iPhone for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And Apple was pissed off about that they did that, but they don't give a fuck. And
as we can see.
So that just happened to me. I haven't had my phone for the last couple of days because it's been at my security guy. He's been trying to find out what the malware was on it and going to wipe it clean. And so, and I don't feel, it's not stupid of me to talk about it because he said they're going to know immediately that you found out. And so they already probably know that I know. And so I'm not letting the cat out of the bag here, but Kurt and I had all, Kurt's very good at spotting the MK Ultra and the kind of mind control that the establishment does on Hollywood. And that's it's like a hobby of his. And yeah, the dyeing the hair blonde is like the final step for some of them, right? And it's like a rebirth, and he's all into that. And which leads us into our next segment, I guess. And
so that is what happened to Kyle.
Tangentially, yeah.
So that's like that. That's how the pod people have taken them over when they dye the hair blonde.
Yeah, that's like one of the final steps. And I said to him, Kurt, why do you think they've never come for me? I mean, I've said on my show as a joke for years, like, I'm no better than these people I'm criticizing for selling out. I would sell out. Nobody's made an offer. And so they finally did come for me. I got invited to join. I got invited to join the Bohemian Grove, and then the Mossad hacked my phone, and so it's the carrot and stick. And I want to go. I want to go to one of those meetings, just so I can go up behind and put my hand from behind on Kyle Kalinski's shoulder and go, "Hey, how you doing, buddy?"
I haven't turned around. There you are. Well, thank you for sharing that, Jimmy. Do you mind if I clip that with it? Because I can't imagine thumbnail Jimmy Dore invited to join Bohemian Grove wouldn't make us rich. So can we clip that?
Well, the moment
Jimmy Dore joins Bohemian Grove. How's that for news?
Jimmy Dore lost in horrific Wicker Man ritual.
I don't know. I probably shouldn't have that part. I probably shouldn't have said on the show, because I actually did want to go as a reconnaissance, but now I bet they won't let me go because I fucking just blabbed to my.
Well, hopefully they don't watch. Not too many people watch our show, thankfully.
I'd be bad Illuminati. I can't keep my fucking mouth shut. The person.
I mean, let's put it this way: if your politics suddenly change, that is going to get clipped and memed everywhere.
Oh,
right now
right.
you can't
everywhere.
Now you got to go all the way.
Observe American commentator Jimmy Dore. His politics underwent a sudden change after mentioning an invitation to Bohemian Grove.
Did you know? Can I tell you a quote from? Did I send it to you? The quote from Richard Nixon.
Which one?
About Bohemian Grove.
About the Jews.
About Bohemian Grove. I don't have my phone, so I have it on my phone.
Did you send it to us? I don't think you sent it to us.
Oh, he said. Let me try to hang on. Let me try to find it.
Well, the very famous article that was written, was it Spy Magazine? You can find it online instantly if you look up Bohemian Grove, like undercover expose. A guy snuck in there, and Kissinger was there.
Is there a way I can get an image to you? Yeah, I can get it.
Just send me the link in the private chat here, and I will share it.
So, did it not? How do I? Okay, let me. It's not. Can I just put the screenshot in the private chat or no?
Is there a link, or do you want? I
have a screenshot. Let me text it to you, and then
text it to me. I get text on my computer, so I should be able.
Yeah,
to
I can. Here, I'm gonna.
It's not Henry Kissinger getting fucked in the ass under a giant owl, is it?
Yeah, that we can't show that.
That we can't.
They'll age restrict that.
Yeah. They'll put an age restrict that.
Yeah. Naked yoga,
came through. Yeah,
led by Cap Weinberger.
Yeah. Here, let me see. All right, there we go. That should be good. All right, beautiful. All right, I should be able to share this right now. Present, share screen. Come on, where is it? There it is. Beautiful. Here it is. The Bohemian Grove, which I attend from time to time, is the most...
The Bohemian Grove, which I attend from time to time, it is the most faggy goddamn thing you could ever imagine.
That's funny. Wow, Richard Nixon.
So
that sounds like him.
So when I told Kurt about my invitation to join the Illuminati or whatever, he said, "God damn it, I'm reading this book about how they got Woodrow Wilson," and he sends me the screenshots of the book he's read. It's really fascinating stuff, and the beauty of Woodrow Wilson is they got him to believe it was his idea. That's always the best. when you get them to think it's their own idea. Anyway, so they've been doing this shit for a long time, and again, if you can think it, they already probably did it. Not only do they have, I used to say they have a plan for it, but if you can think it, they probably already did a version of it.
One thing I remember, I think this is probably what Nixon was referring to. That article, the way he described it was basically them acting like a bunch of frat boys of that era, like constantly talking about their erections and their manhood and their virility. And I still remember this. The guy who wrote the article, his observation of it was very incisive. He said, it's old men nostalgic for the perpetual erections of their youth. So
I put a link in the chat. Maybe you want to play that. It's pretty good. It's actually from ABC News, like 1980, 81.
In the private chat here?
In the private chat, I put it. Do you see it?
Yes, I do. Here it is. Okay, hang on one second. Let me see if I can.
All right.
I don't mean to hijack your show. Right?
Do they let black guys worship the giant owl?
All right. Let's.
I think I've seen this. I'm pretty sure I've seen this. Yeah. See, Cap Weinberger. Right. See, I pulled that from somewhere.
Get the audio, baby. You got it's on mute on the.
Oh, is the audio not coming through?
Yeah, if you go to the.
Yeah, it's not. We're not hearing.
No. Go back.
Oh no, it was coming through. I know what I did. Because I didn't have it on as a Chrome tab. That's my fault.
Oh, see the kids with their tech, huh, Russ?
Yeah, now I got it.
That's what I'm saying. I got the one
What
millennial who doesn't know tech.
Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger canceled plans to go to Bohemian Grove in California this weekend because of the possibility of more flare-ups in the Lebanon crisis. But even without the Defense Secretary, the Bohemian Grove will not close down for lack of power. What is the Bohemian Grove? Well, it's a kind of summer camp for the powerful, an all-male gathering in great secrecy. More from Dennis Murphy.
George Shultz, Henry Kissinger, and West German Chancellor Schmidt arrived by car. The chairman of General Motors and U.S. Steel came in by private jet.
If you would look at the guest list over a period of 5 years, I don't think there would be anybody of any importance in America who was missing from that list.
Cabinet officers and captains of industry are going to summer camp at Bohemian Grove, an all-male retreat secluded in the Redwood Forest 2 hours north of San Francisco. Outsiders are not invited. What's hidden away is a little bit of Boy Scout camp and a lot of fraternity hokum. There are rituals, bonfires, and the burning of effigies. The members live in lodges with names like Wolf and Caveman. Gerald Ford, Henry Kissinger, William French Smith, and George Shultz are bunkmates at Mandalay Camp. President Reagan's camp, Owl's Nest, is famous for its Eggs Benedict and Ramos Gin Fizz breakfast. But for the most part, stories about what happens in these redwoods are hard to come by. A campground statue reminds Bohemians to keep their mouths shut about the Grove.
I've heard a lot of good music there. I've met a lot of interesting people, and I look forward to listening to music again.
But there are employees who tell tales out of school.
Half of these guys, from what I can tell, stay loaded or stay bombed, the entire time that they're there. They stagger into breakfast and stagger out from dinner. But at the same time, they're talking business.
And sometimes those business talks send ripples far beyond the Grove. Sociology professor William Domhoff.
Reagan and Nixon talked at length in 1967 in the Grove to decide who would go first in Republican primaries.
While decision makers are cementing friendships, protesters outside the gate are keeping a vigil. To them, the Bohemian Grove is an all-white, all-male, undemocratic policy-making arm of the government. They want the Bohemians to go home. But summer camp won't end until next week. Dennis Murphy, NBC News, Monterey, California.
Wow.
Now they got Davos. They just do it out in the open.
Yeah.
They don't even need
this anymore. It's true.
So if anyone's curious, I found that article. That was printed in Spy magazine in 1989, and it's by a guy named Philip Weiss. He managed to fake his credentials and get in as a guest.
Oh, wow. Nice. I know Alex Jones says he infiltrated Bohemian Grove,
did.
right? Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, nice. All right, folks, hit that subscribe button while you're here. We got a big crowd over here. Do us a solid and hit that subscribe button, and on Rumble, hit that follow button. All right, let's do Crystal and Sagar. This is a fun one. So Joe Biden is running into some problems with young voters who are very displeased with his handling of the Israel-Gaza war. It's not the Israel-Hamas war. It's the Israel-Gaza war. Israel is at war with Gaza. They're not at war simply with Hamas. But here is Sagar with a very, very bizarre take. His take is, I don't understand why anybody really cares about this. And that's literally his take on this. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Here he is.
Predictable. You can whip them. I think these people are pretty predictable. You can whip them up. Sure, they'll say this about, but at the end of the day, like if you think Trump is literally Hitler, which a lot of them do, then they're probably going to vote for Biden.
I think you're underestimating what a searing event this is for a lot of young people, in the same way that the Iraq War was a searing event for a generation. I think it is at that level of like absolute horror that our government could be involved in such a thing, horror that such a thing was even on the table, and whether or not you agree with that perspective. I think it goes a lot deeper than just like a flash in the pan concern of the moment. And you see that by, the widespread protests across the country. You see it by the energy on social media. It's hard to quantify these things, but it is my sense that this cuts a little deeper than some of the other things. It's not a flash in the pan. This is genuinely like this generation's Iraq War moment.
I don't know. I mean, it just seems crazy to me, once again. I mean, you're not Palestinian. And it's like, in America, we were involved in the Iraq War. Our soldiers are the ones who are dying. Like, the idea to me that you're going to get all that spun up about, at the end of the day, which is a conflict that has no effect on you, literally whatsoever.
No, yeah, it has no effect on you. In Iraq, it was our soldiers who were the ones who were dying. Oh, our soldiers weren't the ones who were dying in the Iraq War. Our soldiers died, and that was tragic. But we lost about 5,000 soldiers. The real tragedy of the Iraq War were the hundreds of thousands of Iraqi civilians who died. And yes, some of us felt bad about that. Like, maybe you didn't. But like the idea, I mean, I don't understand how everybody's so spun up about image after image.
If it's not your children being incinerated.
Yeah, right. Like,
what do you care?
That is just such an insane thing to say. And I never took him for someone
when they did that whole "We Are the World" for Ethiopia. I said, "You're not Ethiopian. What are you doing?"
So he's doing that thing where he's paid to look dumber than he actually is, right? And he's not good at it. You saw him touch his nose before, which is always a tip off and he's looking down, and he knows he's trying to throw some bullshit around. I mean, no, there's no way he's as dumb as he's pretending to be right there. This has everybody has said that this has the potential to spark World War III. And he knows that, and yet, just like with the Ukraine war, they're going to lie about it. Like you can't tell me they're that dumb about Ukraine. You can't tell me they're that dumb about Joe Biden. You can't tell me they're that dumb about this. It's like, so they're obviously compromised in many ways, more than one for sure. And this is what it looks like. But goddamn, his suit looks fantastic. What a badass suit he's wearing, and. And I love that Crystal is now going with the vocal fry for like she's doing an audio piece for NPR, and she's 17. It's fantastic. But it's. I mean, do you think that he's that dumb to not know that this has the potential to turn into World War III, especially? I mean, just look at the stuff that Bobby Kennedy was saying about it. He's bringing in Russia and China and Iran and Venezuela, and this is about oil and all that stuff. And, and that, Israel is our aircraft carrier in the Middle East, and to fight against them controlling the oil. I mean, it's so you're telling me Sagar really all that think tank money doesn't have an effect? Well, that is the effect it has right there. That's him pretending to be stupider than he could possibly ever be, and hoping that I guess their audience is, what a dumb audience they have, right? How fucking stupid could you be to watch that show?
Well, it's going to get even worse. I'll show you. I have more video, which maybe I'll get to this and then we'll go on, because he cites polling to demonstrate his point that Gen Z isn't really going to split from Biden over this. The polling he cites is dated October 11th. They recorded this segment on November 16th. He cites polling that is well over a month old, 3 days after the October 7th.
Yeah, before
right
the
at the
genocide
beginning.
started.
Right
Before
when
the
emotions
genocide.
were so high. That's like the day after a swine flu outbreak. You poll people, hey, how do you feel about eating raw bacon left at room temperature overnight? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, of course you're going to get bad numbers. But even this, watch what he goes.
Nuts to me. But the other thing is the general generation divide. We can put this up there on the screen. We have 48%. This was a poll taken on October 11th, so take that for what
Yes, I
it
think
is.
we
But
probably should.
48%
over a
millennial
month
and Gen
old
Z support.
that was taken 4 days after the war started, so it really means nothing. So what he's referring to there is support for Israel among millennials and Gen Z was 48% on October 11th. 40 said say neutral. Only 12% said criticize Israel. That was on October 11th. Now, turns out this segment really aged like milk because on Meet the Press today, they released a new NBC poll of Biden's numbers on this issue. Current polling as of today, 18 to 34-year-olds give Biden a 20% approval rating on the Israel-Hamas war, 70% disapprove. So this guy starts making the point, hey, I don't understand why people are so bent out of shape about babies with their heads blowing off or, newborns freezing outside of their incubators because the hospital's been turned off. But even beyond that, then he goes and he cites a poll that's over a month old to say, look, their opinions are pretty split on this. And now, current data, as people have learned more, his approval rating amongst millennials and Gen Zers, 20% on this issue, which is less than half of the 48% that he cites in this graphic here. I mean, that's just bizarre. That is just absolutely bizarre.
So you chalk that up to him just being that stupid and incompetent, or is that some kind of billionaire influenced money, or is that some kind of whatever? Who knows what that is? But you don't think that he actually doesn't know what he's doing, right?
No, I think a lot of these guys are in this awkward position, like, if you are on the right, it's hard for you to go full bore free Palestine, but you don't feel comfortable backing Israel all the way. So you have to come up with this sort of middle ground posture where like, well, this isn't our business, so we should be neutral. But that's a far cry from saying, why do young people care about children being slaughtered to the tune of 1,000 a week? I don't think he's dumb enough to say that. I never took him for that. I never took him to be a dumb guy. I didn't agree with everything he said, but I always thought of him as,
what I'm saying is he's doing it honestly. It's obviously he's bending himself in a pretzel to try to push a narrative, and he knows he's doing that. He's not being honest. So that was always the thing that made them attractive, is that you thought that they were actually being honest, and we could have honest dialogue without demonize people from the other. But it's not about that anymore. It's about them. They're bullshitting just as hard as anybody could bullshit on corporate news. And the question is why or not. Who gives a fuck? They're doing it, and they did it around the Ukraine. They're doing it around Joe Biden. They're doing it around this now. It's nuts. It's not nuts. I guess it's. I guess I didn't realize just how dumb their audience was.
I'm very surprised, and more I am coming around to that way of thinking. We were talking about this the other night with Jill Stein and Cornell West and Ralph Nader. Are they really this stupid? Really? They really believe what they're saying? It's always, looking back now, if you, and I get the impression you were from watching your show for a long time. If, like me, you were pretty much a Democrat that got red pilled eventually. A lot of that is when they mess up, you go, oh God, how could they be this stupid? And then later on, you realize, no, they're actually very smart. That is not an accident that they don't get these things accomplished. They don't want to. So more and more, yeah, you got to look at things like Sagar, who does these great pieces on BlackRock and permanent capital and why you can't buy a house. Is he really dumb enough to say something like that? I mean, that would mean...
No, he's hoping that his audience is dumb enough to believe he believes it. That's what that is.
Okay. I am more and more coming around to that, because my experience is when you assume that very obviously smart people are stupid, that's your ego talking.
Yes.
Step back for a second. Maybe they're not stupid. Maybe they're actually very smart And this is all by design, because it's just, that is such a ridiculous take. Like, why have international law? Generally, it's only going to be applied to countries you're not involved in, right? So why have it? Why prosecute war crimes in countries that you're not fighting in? Why? Why care about Rwandans? Why would you care about that? It's just such a dumb, crazy argument to make.
Whatever happened to that Putin is a thug? I guess that all goes out the window, right?
Well, I mean, they can walk and chew gum at the same time. Putin is still a thug. He's still going to be a thug. He's just not the thug they're going to focus on for the moment.
So what needs to happen is that that 70% of the people need to actually go to the Capitol or the White House and scare the shit out of them and put the fear of God in those motherfuckers. And as soon as the United States stops backing Israel, they'll have to actually do diplomacy, and they'll have to actually live as a peaceful neighbor in the Middle East and actually have diplomacy, or else they're over. Right. Without, just like Ukraine, as soon as the United States pulls the plug, they're over. And the same thing with Israel. As soon as the United States pulls the plug, Israel is over. And, you know, Israel has controlled the United States and not the opposite way. The last guy who tried to rein in Israel was George Bush the first, and they got rid of him immediately. So that no one has ever gone against them since. So, but if the people do it, you know, it's like Chris Hedges told that story about Henry Kissinger and Nixon, and they had the school buses lined up behind the fences because they were afraid if they broke through the fences, they'd have those buses to stop. And I'm butchering the story, but they were afraid. As Nixon said, you know, what do we do if they break through the fence? Well, then it's a fucking over for you if they break through the fences. And Chris Hedges said on my show, that's exactly where we want them. And so we need to get them back there. And that's all it would take, is to actually put the fear of God in those people like that. Like that, you know, January 6th was a dress up party, and it was actually instigated by the establishment. They actually and now Mike Johnson is releasing those tapes. Now you know why they tried to make Mike Johnson look out to be such a fucking crazy person, not because he goes against Israel, the real fucking runner, but because he was going to release those tapes, and it was going to reveal to at least half the country, if not more, that entire, like what I've been saying since day one, that January 6th narrative has been a fucking bullshit invented fraud.
Well, also the framing that they put on it. There's never been anything like this. As you're pointing out, during the 60s and 70s, that was just Tuesday.
That's right.
Things like that happened all the time during that period.
And now didn't the pro-Palestinian protesters actually go into the House recently? Am I wrong about that?
They occupied the House floor. That was Jewish Voice for Peace. Jewish Voice for Peace.
So so there you go. So that has happened, and they just shut down the California Democratic Convention here in Sacramento. The protesters broke into the building, and they did it peacefully and occupied. So they shut down the whole convention. That just happened.
I didn't even hear that.
Yeah, this happened yesterday here in California. So and some of the politicians joined the protesters.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay.
I'd like to ask you this. This is a super chat, but this would be an interesting question to get your take on, because we've spoken about this a little bit. Pickle the Pirate, thanks for the $10. Interesting to see the dichotomy of New York Times comments, re Ukraine versus Gaza. Libs all in on Ukraine proxy war, but overwhelmingly oppose Israel. A few more years, they'll understand and pretend they opposed it all along. Correct. Yeah, so what do you make of that? Why are the libs? I mean, we have our theories, but I'd like to get your take on this, Jimmy. Why did the libs get Israel mostly right and Ukraine mostly wrong?
Well, I know where they got Ukraine wrong was because they tied it to Trump and 5 straight years of Russiagating.
Right.
And that's all. And then that was it. They're cemented in their head that this guy overthrew the election. That's why we got Trump. And so they had a head of steam of rage against Putin and Russia. And then, of course, they start the story in Act 3. Act 3 is Putin and Russia invading the Donbass. That's when they start the story. So they're never told the rest of the story. And now with Israel, I think you just can't help but look at those pictures of babies with their heads blown off. And, is what I say. It's like, oh, it's horrible that Hamas cut off the heads of those babies. Why didn't they blow their heads off with a nice Christian bomb made in a nice Christian bomb factory? Because, when a Christian bomb blows off, it doesn't hurt anybody. It just hugs you to death.
Right. Yeah. Indeed. All right.
Well, I think that's part of it. That's what I got into in the article that I dropped, and you very kindly shared. White on white, they don't have any strong feelings about that. But the establishment, in my opinion, has spent 10 years, at least, telling them that white on brown is always imperialism and oppression. And they never thought through what would happen if one of our client states did something like that, where it would be, in spite of the protestations of the Israelis, their ruling class are very clearly white. Ashkenazi, Eastern European Jews bombing the hell out of these brown people. So how do you, it was just, I think for a lot of the liberal class, it was just too much cognitive dissonance. You have been pounding them day after day after day after day with the evils of imperialism, and it was just too much to make them switch on a dime. Yes, we need to bomb the hell out of these clearly disenfranchised, impoverished, and colonized people. They just couldn't do it. Some of them could, but I've been shocked by how many will not go along with this particular narrative.
Yeah, so this is when, as you said, the Frankenstein they created is now coming back to attack them. And what's the through line between Israel, Gaza, and Ukraine, Russia? It's that we blew up a pipeline, Nord Stream pipeline, and now Germany's paying 4 times the price for their energy as they were before, because the United States has an economic war against them too. And Germans are the last ones to realize it. And what's going on in what they just found out of like $500 billion worth of gas and oil, and they want to put they want to put a canal through Gaza, and so they want to become an exporter of energy, and they want to be a competitor to the Suez Canal. And of course, it all comes down to economics. And of course, this is not being discussed. And the same thing with Syria. They wanted to put a pipeline through Syria, and Russia wouldn't let that happen. And so they never talk about that. The weird thing is that I learned about that pipeline that was going to be sent through Syria from Bobby Kennedy. He wrote an article in some kind of environmental magazine about that's what this was about. And I found that out, of course, when I was at the Young Turks. And of course, everybody at the Young Turks pretended not to see it or hear it or know it, because, that would actually be staying consistent to what they profess to be, which is progressives and anti-war. But of course, they're not. They're pro-war and they're conservatives.
I finally managed to watch that movie, which I'll send you a link for that. Tantura, which was this graduate student at Haifa University, did an investigation of a massacre that was committed in the War of 1948, where they basically wiped out the people from this town after they had already imprisoned them, put them in fences, lined them up, and shot them. And there was this major cover-up of it. And of course, this guy, once the press got a hold of it, he was sued by the people he had on tape who had been there, admitting that they were involved in that. The judge found against him, and his life was destroyed. He was never allowed to practice as a professor. His whole reputation was ruined. But they interviewed people from that generation who moved into the town in the aftermath of that. And it was very interesting how some of them looked at it. Some of them just wanted to deny it. But they were talking at the end about wanting to put up a memorial, how the Arabs wanted to put up a memorial to the people who had been slaughtered there. And one of them says, well, they're not here anymore, so why should they have a memorial? And one of them really gave away the game. An old woman, she said, I just went to Warsaw, and there are memorials everywhere, and they're able to live with that as a society. So just like we want to remember that we were in Europe, they want to remember that they were here. So we can have memorials like that and still maintain the country. So that's it right there. She's admitting that these people have suffered a Holocaust, right? I mean, if you're making that parallel, it's a very interesting movie. Tantura.
Yeah, that's available for free now. Why don't we do an Israel segment, shall we?
I thought we just did.
Yeah, I thought we did. Patrick Donahue, thanks for the $5. So close to 20K subs. It's great to see the channel take off so much. And Jimmy Dore seems to have endorsed you. Well done, lads. Thank you, Patrick Donahue. Appreciate that, my friend.
What did he say?
Was he saying something?
I'll take credit for your channel doing well.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate
it.
Biding 71, thanks for the 99
We're cute,
cents.
though. We're cute. That
we
helps.
are cute. That's right. Yeah. Thank you, Biding. Appreciate that. All right. Jimmy, let me know how you are on time. Obviously, we'll work around you.
I'm okay. I've been in bed all goddamn day, and I can only sleep in like 1 hour increments. But when I do go to sleep, I have great dreams. I had 2 great dreams today, and I think I figured out what happened to RFK Jr. in my dream.
You said you've been forgiving people.
Not RFK Sr.
in your dreams.
Do you mean RFK Sr. You figured out?
No, I think because it's been a head scratcher about what his positions. He wanted to. I thought he was going to be the second coming of whatever, and he was, and then all of a sudden Israel, Gaza, and then it turned him into a guy stoking the fanning the flames of World War III. And it's just a head scratcher. And I've talked to people close to him, people far from him, people tangential, people that nobody can figure it out. I'm told it's not political, that this isn't about politics. I'm like, what? And that this is emotional. I'm like, oh, okay. So I have a theory on how that happened. And but anyway, it informs my plan of action to going forward, which I can't tell you what it is right now, but I will tell you in a few weeks.
Wow, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
This doesn't involve sacrificing me when I come to LA, right?
You're right.
No, but when you come here, pay no attention to the giant owl.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that'll be in the guest room, exactly.
I feel like Keaton, there's a wicker owl outside, but I think it's just left there from Christmas or something.
So I keep having these. Yeah, I would have these dreams where I would encounter people who I gave way too much mental energy to in my waking life. People who hate me, make videos about hating me. People are jealous of me, things like that. And I meet them in my dreams, and there's no animosity. The first ones was Cenk Uygur, and I don't know if you've ever acted in a play, but after the play is over, everybody gets out of their play clothes, their acting clothes, and there's always somebody who's finished first, and there's people who and then you're waiting around for the rest of the crew to get their regular clothes on, so we can all go out and have a drink. Right. And that's the kind of scenario I'm in with Cenk. Like, isn't it funny, this game we're playing, this play we're in, where we hate each other, and we're no longer in the I hate you clothes, and we're just in the after the play clothes, and we're talking and we're having these very, congenial conversations. And then Ryan Grimm was actually in one of them. Funny thing is, in the dream, Ryan Grimm couldn't stand Cenk, which made me realize, I bet in real life Ryan Grimm can't stand Cenk. And so, because he sees the fucking clown, and but when I wake up, the feeling of the good feelings, I don't know, the warm feelings, they last. I don't actually have animosity toward it. I don't have this hatred in me. I don't want to get back at Cenk anymore. And when I do segments on Cenk, or I do a segment on Ryan Grimm or someone else of that nature, it's just because it's relevant to a topic, and I do it more in fun. It's fun to make fun of Ryan Grimm and Cenk, in a fun way. And so they don't take up the headspace that they used to, which is very freeing, because you only have a finite amount of energy to give towards anything, or a finite amount of attention. And it was like my unconscious, this gift from my unconscious, saying that you don't have to waste any time on that anymore, Jimmy, because their hatred for you and their focus on you is not about you, and it's not about me. And so it frees me up now, and it's so like a weight off my shoulders, and I get to go focus on things that are important. And
so can we expect a Cenk Jimmy unity ticket in the future?
I've been spending a lot of time on the Cenk 2024, and no,
it's funny though, because it's funny you say that, because the morning after we did our Jordan melee, That was the first time I got a taste of what it's like to be the subject of a lot of chatter on social media. Like my Twitter was pinging every few seconds for hours on end because of people chiming in on that. And I thought to myself,
which one was this?
Amongst other things, the day after we interviewed Jordan Sheridan, and
right,
I got a taste of that. And then we interviewed you shortly after, and I don't remember if I asked you this on the show if we got to it, but like, because every time a bad thing happens in the world, you trend online because there's a group of people who blames it on you. So every time Jimmy Dore is trending, I think, oh no, there was an earthquake somewhere or a volcanic eruption or something that a lot of people think is your fault. And because it occurred to me, like after a few hours of just constant ping, 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 I just had to turn the phone off and go hang out with my kids for a little while because I thought exactly that. Life is too short. I can't get too sucked into this all the time. And I could imagine being in a spot like you where this happens to you all the time.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, all the time.
Like all the time.
Yeah. I'll never forget the time I interviewed that Boogaloo boy, Magnus.
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
And, the story there was that he agrees with the progressives on 6 out of 10 issues. That was the story, but that didn't serve the Democratic Party or the establishment. And so the narrative became Jimmy Dore's a fucking crazy right-winger. And, that's whatever friends I had left in the shit livery of Hollywood, that was the last straw for them. And they believed the propaganda that, Jimmy Dore somehow is insincere, and he's now trying to get money through a right-wing audience and all that stuff. And it's just, so that, and then it just got worse from there.
And all of these libs have been pivoting, not all of them, but a lot of them, like the David Pakman types, the people who are most inclined to like call you a grifter. They're the ones tracking to the center on this Israel thing. Like they're the ones who are afraid. Yeah. Well, they're center as it's defined in our politics. Right, so they're the ones who are hedging. They're hedging, is what I would say about it.
David Pakman I sniffed him out as being a phony a long time ago, and I said, you can tell where the rubber meets the road if someone's actually sincere about their progressive bona fides when it comes to Israel, Palestine, and he was always shit on that, and so that's when he tried to smear me over Seth Rich. And now we see the FBI doesn't want to release Seth Rich's laptop for 65 years. 65 and I was fucking right again. And and of course they always memory hole, all that shit. So again, just a tip to all your viewers, whenever there's something that won't even let you question. I remember I was on air with Ben Mankiewicz and Cenk Uygur on the TYT, and I said, can you talk, speaking of Seth Rich, because all I did was cover it and ask obvious questions like where was Seth Rich between the time he left the bar and the time he got shot? There's like this 4-hour window or whatever. I can't remember exactly how many hours, but nobody knows where I go. Where was he? You're not allowed to ask and I said, can you remember the last time there was an open murder investigation where journalists weren't allowed to ask questions?
Right.
And of course they didn't have anything to say because they're just shit libs. And they just repeat establishment talking points as if they thought them. And no, and so here we are. Most recently, the FBI, they lied that they didn't have the laptop. Then they lied that they said they did, but they couldn't access the information. Then they lied and said they could access the information, but now they say we just don't want to release it for 65 years. And so there you go. And all you needed to know about that was that. And so, of course, Dave Weigel was Jeff Bezos told him to put me in an article about pedophiles and crazy Nazis because I had dared to ask a question about Seth Rich. And so Dave Weigel got the order in the Washington Post, and he put my name in the middle of that article he was commanded to write. And so that's all you need to know about Dave Weigel. Of course, Jeff Bezos hires a guy who did pro-Iraq war rallies when he was the editor of his school newspaper at Northwestern University to cover progressives in America for the Washington Post. He didn't hire a lefty to cover them. He hired Dave Weigel, a guy who did pro-war rallies. Instead of going and fighting, he was...
Yeah, I didn't know that about Weigel.
No, I never heard that.
You didn't know that he did that?
Not about Weigel, no.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's who Dave Weigel is. And that's why he got tapped by Jeff Bezos to cover the progressive beat for the Washington Post, because that's who he is. And when he was told to smear Jimmy Dore because he was asking questions and he was making things uncomfortable for the DNC, that he did that article and put me in the middle of an article that smeared me as they were talking about literal Nazis, literal white supremacists, and literal pedophiles, and then Jimmy Dore is in there with the Seth Rich thing. So that's all you need to know about Dave Weigel. I mean, he works for the Washington Post. What you think he'd have that job if he was actually doing a good job?
Right. All right.
I lost a Tinder date because of you once.
Oh really?
Yeah, because I told him I had a show, and they said, "What's your show like?" I said, "Politically, it's kind of in the Jimmy Dore lane." She said, "Jimmy Dore, that guy who goes on Fox and pretends to be left wing, but he's really a right winger." User left chat.
That was it.
Well, they'll never say what I say when I go on Fox News.
No.
I only went on with Tucker Carlson, and that's why it's like they never had nobody would ever say anything that I said that they disagreed with. That just the idea of me going on there, which of course is bullshit, because everybody goes on Fox News, from Cornell West to Barack Obama to Hillary Clinton.
Pete Buttigieg went on there.
Pete Buttigieg, they all go on there. I mean, I think Dianne Feinstein used to be a regular on their Sunday show, but or someone like Dianne Feinstein. Anyway, so yeah, that's just another thing they use to try to discredit and smear you. You know, if you get to the left of someone, just like when I got to the left of Cornell West, what did he do? He smeared me as a right winger. That's the flex that the establishment uses, and Cornell West is establishment, and that's the flex that they use when you get to their left. They immediately call you a right winger. That's immediately what he did when I got to his left.
Oh, I know it well.
All right, let's go to a couple Israel videos. These are great. The first one is on Channel 14, an Israeli broadcast. This is a guy named Shai Golden. Just a special program note here. Here he is, Shai Golden. When Russell is out in L.A. Guest hosting Jimmy's show, Shai Golden will be filling in for him here on the Do Dissidents podcast. So I just want to make our audience acquainted with Shai Golden.
We wanted to represent both sides of the debate.
Yeah. So here's Shai Golden really spelling out the true intentions of the Israeli state. We have a couple of videos here. First, Shai Golden.
לכם כל יום. אנחנו באים לעזה, אנחנו באים ללבנון, אנחנו נבוא לאיראן, אנחנו נבוא לכל מקום. תביאו בחשבון כמה אנחנו הולכים להרוג מכם, וכמה אנחנו הולכים לבצע בכם על כל אחד מ-1,300 האנשים שרצחתם, שדדתם. לא ראיתם מספרים כאלה בדברי ימי האומה הערבית. אני מעדכן אתכם שזה בא. למקרה שאתם מבולבלים, אני מעדכן אתכם שזה בא. מספרים שלא דמיינתם שאפשר בכלל להגיע אליהם. ואנחנו מוכנים להיכנס לבידוד בינלאומי, ומוכנים להריב עם ארצות הברית, ומוכנים להריב עם כל העולם ואחותו. כמה שנצטרך עד שכולכם, כולל כל התומכים שלכם, תעלו לפגוש את אללה, אנחנו נהרוג.
Okay, so there you have it. I mean, that is pretty clear in its intention. That's on Israeli television. Now I want to go to a former Israeli intelligence chief on Anderson Cooper, talking about the non-combatants, quote unquote, in Gaza.
Look, how do you operate in that environment?
Well, the South is a big word, and in the South there are several areas. We have been asking the Gazan to move to the Mawasi area, which is the area closest to the sea. And this is where the big tent cities have been established. Fighting in the south in Han Yunis does not mean that we're fighting in the same area. And as you've seen in the last couple of weeks, the fighting is very surgical. It is slow. It is very methodical. We are trying not to reach any of the non-combatant population in the Gaza Strip. And I think that there is no way that we can eradicate the Hamas without dealing with most of its forces that have fled to the south. Now, again, one little note: the non-combatant population in the Gaza Strip is really a non-existent term, because
The non-combatant population in the Gaza Strip is really a non-existent term.
Half the population are children.
Half the population are children. He just says the non-combatant population in Gaza, not a real thing. Anderson Cooper is giving him the same look that Cornell West gave Anderson Cooper when Anderson Cooper was talking about the Iraq War.
And as we have seen on the 7th of October, most of the population in the Gaza Strip are Hamas. Nonetheless,
most of the population in the Gaza Strip are Hamas. Not only is that not true, most of the population in the Gaza Strip are under 18, which means they did not even vote for Hamas in 2006. So there you have it. Just very, very clearly genocidal intent on both of their parts. And now we have it reported in The Guardian. Go ahead, Jimmy.
What I think is the interesting thing there is if you go back to that screenshot of that video there, is the CIA guy in the middle. He just ignores that. Like it jumps out at you, and it jumps out at Russ and me and anybody else who's watching that, what that guy's actually saying. But the CIA guy in the middle, what's his name? Anderson Cooper. He
Anderson Vanderbilt.
He doesn't. If you keep playing that, can you keep playing that? Let's see what his pushback. Does he make the same observation you did?
Treating them as regular civilians, and they are spared from the fighting.
General Kimmett,
okay, so go back a little bit because that's important because
the video cuts out before we hear his full
what he says here is how good they're being to the civilians.
All right, hold on.
That in spite of them being Hamas, they're being wonderful.
Non-combatant population in the Gaza Strip is really a non-existent term because all of the Gazans have voted for the Hamas, and as we have seen on the 7th of October, most of the population in the Gaza Strip are Hamas. Nonetheless, we are treating them as non-combatant. We are treating them as regular civilians, and they are spared from the fighting.
General Kimmett,
so he says most of Gaza are Hamas, but we are treating them as non-combatants anyway. That's what you were talking about, Russell, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and Anderson Cooper just goes right on to his next question.
Yeah. So play it through to the end.
Well, we don't really have his question here.
The idea of negotiating to not fly drones for a given amount of time for.
Oh, yeah, so it cuts out, but it's not related to what he just said. Yeah,
no,
incredible.
No, he just let that pass.
Just let that go.
Well,
here's the Guardian. Let me just get to this real quick because what that former Israeli official said is true. Israeli says it will increase military offensive in southern Gaza. When Israel planes hit northern Gaza at the start of the war and troops prepared to move in on foot, Israeli messages urged civilians to move south of the Wadi Gaza wetlands for their own safety. So obviously, the people living in the north were told to evacuate and head south for their own safety, as The Guardian writes. Despite risks on the journey and severe overcrowding in shelters and private homes, hundreds of thousands followed those orders. About 1.6 million people are displaced, more than 2/3 of Gaza's population, the UN said. They found only relative safety there. 40 days into the war, 3,676 people had been killed in southern areas that Israel had declared safer. Almost 4,000 casualties of the now 12,000. So almost a third of the casualties are in the so-called safe zones that they were told to evacuate to. They accounted for a third of all Palestinian deaths in the conflict, according to a UN map. Now many of those people have been told to move again and cram into an even smaller area along the coast around the town of Mawasi. They asked us, the citizens of Gaza, to go to the south. We went to the south. Now they are asking us to leave. Where do we go? Exactly. We don't have to read the whole thing. You get the point.
Yeah. I mean, the just absolute atrocity of this is it's breaking people's brains. You know, we've been watching for years. And Jimmy, you were all over COVID. It's something I might want to take a deep dive into Wednesday is learning loss, because I saw so many parents who were vehement. You know, I live in New York. It's shit lib central. I saw so many parents who were just absolutely vehement. Oh my God, anyone who suggested that children should be in school are just evil, criminal people, even though it was clear that it caused very little risk to children. And I said to a parent, okay, so listen, I'm not a science guy, but my understanding is when people take a test with the windows open, they do better because of the fresh air. It's the reason when you go take a walk, when you come back, you feel more refreshed. So how can it not affect the brains of developing children to have a mask on all day? They're breathing carbon dioxide all day. Oh, no. That's not a problem. Now they're finding a tremendous IQ drops in that entire generation. And yet people went along with it. They have gone along with everything they've been told, but not this, because it is just so raw and so clear. It just seems to be the one bridge they can't go over. And you're seeing the media trying to use the same tactics that they always use. Black is white, up is down. And it's not washing. It's just because it's just too crazy.
I was pilloried by people close to me, or I thought they were false friends. Guys like Dave Anthony, Graham Elwood, Josh Olson, the Academy-nominated writer of History of Violence, just came at me like I was, like I was Alex Jones and talking about Sandy Hook, when I was just telling that I knew the science and I knew that was wrong. I knew that Sweden didn't do a lockdown. And I also knew that Andy Slavitt slipped Joe Biden's czar for whatever, the guy who was the head of COVID policy. He slipped and said in like July of 2021, everybody's going to get COVID. Right. And so if everybody's going to get COVID, why are you locking down goddamn school? It doesn't make any sense. The kids are all going to get it. The teachers are all going to get it. We should be prepared. We should be looking for treatments instead of trying to pretend that we can keep ourselves from getting it. And of course, everybody got it.
Right.
And they lied about. I'm sorry. I'm taking this into a different. I'm making it about the vaccine and the COVID instead of what the story is. What's the story again?
Why is that propaganda not working on the Israel issue?
I think we go back to his Frankenstein article. Exactly, because they've been conditioned for 40 years to not let it to work. And then, of course, you can't get past the images that's being shown. And on Twitter, I don't know about Facebook or Instagram, but I know I go on Twitter, and Jackson Hinkle is allowed to show everything that's happening. I can't even look at his tweets. They're so horrific. And so I think that's what's happening. And so there's those two things. It's just what Russ laid out in his article about the Frankenstein that they've created and the colonization of your mind and all that stuff. And, it's white people slaughtering brown people, which is what it is. And also, so that's what I think it's those, and you can't deny those images. And, when you get people like Rashid Tlaib willing to stand up and Pramila Jayapal willing to stand up against the Democratic establishment, that's really saying something, because they're very loyal foot soldiers, and that they're the ultimate psyop for the establishment. And for them to stand up against it, I guess even they couldn't look themselves in the mirror over this. So that's that. But Bernie Sanders can be a bullshitter.
Incredible, huh?
It's
Dick Durbin called for a ceasefire before Bernie Sanders. Now, he didn't call for it for real. He was pressed on it on CNN. He said, "Yeah, I support it, I guess."
I go to so Bernie blocked me from giving him messages, DMs on Twitter, but his wife didn't. So I go there and I call her a garbage person.
And she still hasn't blocked you
from DMing you? Wow.
Yeah. She pretends she does. She's not. What the last message she sent me was she was upset that I said something about Bernie. This is like 3 or 4 years ago. And she said, Jimmy, I've always defended you. No, you didn't, you fucking lying. Yeah, and she's such a fucking liar, Bernie's what. They're both liars. And so I just never responded to that. And then the other day I was just like, hey, just you're a garbage person. You're all garbage people. And then Bernie's advisor too. I was like, hey, how do you seriously? So are you investing in Band-Aids? Because you can't look when you shave, you obviously aren't looking in the mirror. And I forget the guy's name now. It's always on
Is
the
that Matt Duss, the foreign policy advisor, or Sirota was the other guy?
No, not Sirota. Blocked me a long time ago for pointing
I don't know
out
the advisor. I know Matt Duss was the foreign policy advisor, with the easiest job in the world because Bernie had no foreign policy at all. So I don't know what the hell he needed a foreign policy advisor for, but apparently that guy got paid to be one. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget the guy's name, but it's his policy advisor, not foreign policy, just his. I'll think of it. But anyway, so I enjoy doing that, and I enjoy them pretending that they didn't see my message.
Well, if you really want to piss her off, tell her you're starting a university and you want her to handle the money.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure that's how they got that. That was one of the ways they got to him was, we're going to throw your wife in jail unless you.
That's a Russell's theory. Yeah, he said that before.
Oh yeah, I mean him, and then I think his kid did a scam also. I think with their own organization, but anyway, I'm sure that's how they get. That's really real easy to get them like that.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Jill Stein and the Green Party. They've been 100% infiltrated, and they've Jill Stein's been raising a couple hundreds of thousands of dollars since 2016, and I'm sure the FCC threatened her. I heard that's what I hear anyway. And so this is, I don't change. I don't have any. I can't give you documents to back this up. I'm just telling you what I hear. And so yeah, it's not easy to control these people. And so it's obvious that Jill Stein's controlled. It's obvious that the whole entire Green Party's been infiltrated. That Howie Hawkins is the enemy, and doing the work of the FBI and the CIA and the establishment. And why doesn't their party grow?
Right.
Why do you think? Because they've set it up in a way to make sure it doesn't grow.
Right.
And they've all feed it. And so they start these outside organizations, and they funnel people from the Green Party to the outside organizations. And so that's why we can't have anything nice on the left.
Yeah, and just to put a button on this segment, obviously, we know the vaccine's safe and effective. I was really hoping they would come out with the boosters that you can put in a syringe and dip in the eggnog this year for Christmas and just shoot them back. But maybe next year. We can hope, right?
You know what's interesting is that all those people and all those comedians who shame people for doing your own research, doing your own research about a medical treatment used to be called informed consent. That's what it used to be called.
Right. Exactly, yeah.
And during COVID, they all just went along. And now that nobody's taking their boosters, no one will admit that they all at some point decided to do their own research. And either that or they stopped believing the people who told them about all the
I think it's more intuitive. Yeah, I think it's just they kind of realize, I think they look around. And I think all of this has a lot to do with it.
I still see CNN zombies posting pictures
even
of
CNN
Band-Aids.
now, when you look at I just think now, especially now with Israel, I think it's really showing how full of shit the media is. I mean, it's really it's impossible for people to really trust the media anymore, and I think that's a huge part of it. Should we do Sasha Baron Cohen? This will be a fun one.
I was talking to my ex-wife today. We're very close, and she's Australian, and she was saying, should I get medical treatment in America or Australia? I said, I mean, that's a no-brainer, man. There's a profit motive here. This is a country that hooked people on opioids because they were getting paid off. That this is a country that, a lot went on with the vaccine. Let's just say that before Keaton turns 3 more shades of white. I'll stop there.
They didn't want to release the vaccine trial data for 75 years.
Right. So you can't trust doctors here. I mean, as soon as you go in, if they see anything, they want to give you a pill. They want to put you on medication right away.
We're the most over-medicated country. We take 4 times the amount of pills than Europe does, for sure. Right?
Oh, yeah. And the charges are just unbelievable. So we all know, I mean, most of you guys in the audience know my kid spent 3 days in the hospital for Kawasaki's getting IV treatment. So they sent us the bill for that before the insurance kicked in. The bill for that before the insurance kicked in was $20,000. After the insurance kicked in, $2,300 is what we're on the hook for 3 days in the hospital. And that's a deal. We got off easy. Nonetheless, Patreon.com/DoDissidents. Good time to plug that. You can go sign up and become a member for as little as $5 a month. No, Jake, we'll do the scroll after, Jake. Don't worry about that. Well, I don't want to do the full thing. That was a gag. I just did that for the joke. But thank you, Jake.
He's working the bit.
He's working the bit. I'm working the bit. That's what we call working the bit.
You guys have a helper over there? You guys got a tech person?
We do. Jake is in the booth. Yes, our producer friend Jake is in the booth. Absolutely. So we do have a tech
no
person.
kidding. Oh, I didn't know there. I didn't even know there was a booth.
Yeah, well, the
there's a virtual booth.
The virtual booth. The metaphorical booth, indeed.
Oh, okay. Look at you. Good for you guys. You got a little help. That's nice.
Yeah, no, Jake is great. Round of applause for Jake in the chat, everybody. Woo! All right, let's go to Sasha Baron Cohen. This is a fun one. Let's go to this story here, folks. Sasha Baron Cohen, Amy Schumer, Deborah Messing, and more Jewish celebrities urge TikTok to address anti-Semitism and misinformation.
Can you go back to that picture? I didn't looks like Greta Thunberg got stung by a bee.
That's like a laugh I had to back off the mic for before I piss people off.
Russell doesn't have the auto adjust, or you do have the auto adjust, but
I do have it on, but still, yeah.
Alarmed by an apparent surge of anti-Semitic content and misinformation on TikTok following the October 7th Hamas terrorist massacre of Israeli civilians, a group of Jewish celebrities and influencers met this week with the execs of the video app to voice their concerns. More than 30 people joined the 90-minute video call, including actors Sasha Baron Cohen, Amy Schumer, and Deborah Messing, at the invitation of TikTok. Variety has confirmed details of the November 15th meeting, first reported by the New York Times. This article is in Variety, obviously. Overall, the tenor of the meeting was respectful and productive, according to an individual familiar with the call. But at times, the discussion became very heated. What is happening at TikTok? I can't really do a good Sasha Baron Cohen accent. Russell, do you want to try Sasha Baron Cohen? You want to try it? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
What is happening at TikTok is creating. I mean, how else you do Sasha Baron Cohen?
Yeah, it's creating the biggest anti-Semitic movement since the Nazis. Shame on you, Cohen told the execs, according to audio of the meeting. He also said, if you think back to October 7th, the reason why Hamas were able to behead young people and rape women, again, none of those have been confirmed, and was they were fed images from when they were small kids that led them to hate. Messing questioned why TikTok isn't blocking the phrase "from the river to the sea," which many interpret as a dog whistle calling for the extermination of Israel. Again, many bad faith liars interpret it that way. All "from the river to the sea" means is equal rights for Palestinian people from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. That's the one-state solution with equal rights for all. That's what it means.
Well, and even if it didn't, when people are at war, they're trying to take the other person's land. By that standard, all war slogans are eliminationist by definition.
No, but what people like?
No, I understand. I'm just saying, even on those terms, it's
right.
not.
But I'm just saying that's not even a war slogan, right? Like "from the river to the sea" is not even a war slogan. That gets chanted at peace marches, right? And what it means is one state between the Jordan and the Mediterranean with equal rights for all. And because Israel won't give Palestinians equal rights, they interpret it to mean elimination of Israelis because they're not willing to agree to terms of equal rights. It is much more reprehensible to bar it at this point than to say, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. It is much more responsible to bar it at this juncture than to say, oh, well, some people, they use it in a different way than it actually was created to mean, Messing said. I understand that you are in a very, very difficult and complicated place, but you also are the main platform for the dissemination of Jew hate. On the call, TikTok head of operations Adam Presser acknowledged to the participants, we can do better. He also said, to hear that this place, this platform, this community has brought you so much joy and helps each of you as individuals is becoming a place that feels like somewhere that you're not sure you want to spend time on. And that's devastating. Reps for TikTok, which is owned by a Chinese internet conglomerate, ByteDance, did not respond to a request or comment about the call.
We need to keep you addicted to those dopamine hits every 30 seconds, and anything that's going to stop you from consuming our neurologically damaging product is something we want to address.
Amy Schumer, Deborah Messing, like, that doesn't surprise me at all. I suppose it shouldn't surprise me from Sasha Baron Cohen either, but it's just like the hypocrisy is so astounding how this guy made his fame by being this very brash, vulgar, anti-PC, edgy comedian. And now you're pushing for censorship of a social media platform. It's just like, I guess he doesn't care that he comes off that way. Because no one in his circle will hold him to account for it, I suppose.
Well, I guess that breakfast he had with Keith Olbermann really had an effect on him.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, because when you think about it, Borat was always this like chauvinistic, like Kazakhstan, the nation of Kazakhstan, had complaints about that movie, and none of us really cared at the time because it was funny, and we're like, it's a joke, right? It's edgy, anti-PC humor. It's very, very well done. And so I guess we just look past it, but it shouldn't really be a surprise in retrospect that he would take this stance here.
Just to back up Jimmy's earlier assertion, our very own Deep Throat passed on some documents in our virtual parking garage here. So this is from Mint News. A close examination of the comedian's background and views suggests that much of his work is pro-Israel, pro-Western propaganda masquerading as satire. Yeah. Documents obtained under the Freedom of Information Act show that the Department of Defense was involved in the production of the 2009 mockumentary Bruno.
Wow, that's amazing.
Okay, thank you.
And there's some more about... Yeah. Hey, man. I mean, we've got good people passing us info in real time.
Was that from the chat, or did someone message you that just now?
I got text by one of our sources.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yes, you know. And yeah, apparently he also talked about
Peter Now. Are you guys in contact with Peter Now?
No, it's not Peter.
You got us. You got us. Mariana's our source. Bruno was also made with the help of the CIA.
Of course.
In an interview with David Letterman in 2009, Baron Cohen casually stated that a CIA contact had arranged some of the scees in the movies.
That's right, because he interviewed a terrorist. Because he went on David Letterman. And he told he actually told this story very well. He's very funny. He's very talented. I got to give him that. He says, so I want it in the movie. I pitched to the producers. I said, Bruno's going to interview a terrorist. And they said, okay, great. That sounds good. Who are we going to get to play the terrorist? And I said, well, no, I want to interview a real terrorist. And so that's probably how that got facilitated. I forgot all about that. I forgot that Bruno interviewed a terrorist.
Right.
So I know you guys looked at me like, well, Jimmy, come on, really? He's been CIA.
No. Yeah, no. I've heard too much shit over the years I've been doing this to dismiss anything that I hear. I just never heard it before.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I covered it on my show once, but that was back when I was smoking pot, so I can't remember. My recall on that isn't fantastic.
That's amazing, though. That's wild. Should we go to our second social media story? Because this is the Elon story. It's a big one. Go ahead.
It is very disappointing because, I mean, you're this boundary crossing comedian. You're this guy. I mean, what if Ron Paul decided to press charges for sexual harassment?
Which he could have. It was sexual harassment right on camera in Bruno. Yeah.
Right. And you're going when you see artists trying to shut down speech, it just always amazes me. I want to cover this later in the week. We were thinking about doing it tonight. Rashida Tlaib was supposed to speak at ASU, and the university found an excuse not to let her speak. And this is the same university where they marched to stop Kyle Rittenhouse from speaking, but those same people want Rashida Tlaib speaking, and this is what we were trying to tell them. Listen, it's not about whether you like the person. If you do it to them, they're going to do it to you eventually. And now they're getting a taste of that. And I just hope that opens some eyes and they stop using those tactics when Matt Walsh wants to come speak on their campus. Sure, protest. That's in bounds. Demanding that he not speak, that's out of bounds.
Right.
Come on. Speech is violence. You know that. Stochastic violence.
Right.
And the thing that I've had, the Kyle Rittenhouse case is one of the most remarkable things. I had people on my show. Anyway, who cares? But Kyle Rittenhouse, we were told he was a white supremacist who didn't even live in that community, who crossed state lines with guns with the specific purpose to go shoot black people at a Black Lives Matter rally. And it turns out none of that was true. He did live in that community. He was a lifeguard in that community. He didn't travel across state lines with guns. He was asked by immigrants of color, to protect a car dealership because the cops wouldn't. And he didn't shoot 3 black people. He shot 3 white people.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly the whole, and every one of those persons he shot was a criminal who were attacking him.
Right. One of them was a pedophile.
And one of them was a pedophile. Convicted, who just gotten out of the loony bin that morning, I think, for beating his wife or his girlfriend. And he was attacking Kyle at the time. And we know he was because his fingerprints are on the gun barrel. And then after Kyle shot that guy, the pedophile who was attacking him, Kyle was running towards the cops when the other 2 criminals actually attacked him, hit him over the head with a piece of wood, knocked him down, and the other guy pulled a gun on him. And Kyle shot the guy in the arm. Now, if that was a cop, the cop would have shot the guy in the face, shot his wife, and shot his dog. But so and then I have people say to me, "Well, you still see people on my old good buddy Graham Elwood actually slandered me with that on Twitter when he said that Jimmy Dore defended Kyle Rittenhouse. I didn't defend Kyle Rittenhouse. I defended the truth. And why aren't you pissed off that the corporate media lied about a 16-year-old kid to fucking further divide our country? That's what the left media is supposed to be about, exposing that kind of bullshit, and except they're reinforcing it.
Yeah, no, we just had a little audio show at the time that happened, but we did an hour-long episode, which got mixed response because my take on that exactly at the time was that there was simply no way to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he had murderous intent that night. There's no way to prove that. Right? That's not to say he definitely didn't, but there's no way to prove that. And if you're going to lock someone in a cage for decades of their life, you need proof. You have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt guilt. That's the most important legal principle.
Not only that, but the corporate media lied about him. That was
that too, of course, obviously.
That was a lie. You know, it's just like what I say about ivermectin. Why do you think they lied about ivermectin? What, you think they lied about ivermectin because they believed it? They lied and said it was a horse dewormer and it wasn't a human medicine. And of course, it's on the WHO list of essential medicines, and it won the Nobel Prize for human medicine. And it's been prescribed billions of times, saved billions of lives. Why do you think they had to lie about that? Do you think they lied about it because it didn't work? That's probably why. They probably lied about it because it didn't work.
Well, that must be why.
That must be why.
Of course.
That's obviously why.
And they were
protecting people.
Yeah, they were trying to protect people from actually taking something that didn't work.
Right.
So
of course.
So if you're, if you believe that, I've got a vaccine I'd like to sell you. So, they already sold it to you. Anyway, that story right there. And again, I'm not I could care. It doesn't matter how you feel about Kyle Rittenhouse personally or his politics, one way or the other. But the important thing is why did the corporate media ubiquitously feel the need to lie about that, and then get every piece of shit on social media to also further that lie? And not only that, but attack, slander the people who told the truth about it, like people like Matt Orfalea, which is where I got my information from. And then when I repeated it, they came at me over it. So did you guys catch heat for telling the truth? Did you guys tell the truth about that? Or did you
no one really listened to us.
We were small enough that we only caught a matchbook's worth of heat.
Yeah, right.
We didn't have enough listeners to catch a big conflagration of heat.
Yeah, if we were on YouTube at the time, we would have, but no one knew who the hell we were.
And you see what the way they go, it's so insidious the way they go at it. They go, he defended Kyle Rittenhouse. They don't say what Jimmy Dore said that was wrong. They don't say what Matt Orfalea said that was wrong. They just go, you defended something.
Well, look, if you're against the Ukraine war, you're defending Putin. It's the same thing.
Right.
Right.
It didn't fit the narrative. It didn't fit the narrative. I mean, we just had a story that we can't get into here on YouTube where a certain writing of a certain mass shooter in Tennessee that had been suppressed came out. Their notebooks were released.
A manifesto.
Yes, a manifesto, so to speak, came out. And, it didn't fit the narrative, right? And any time this has been somebody who could be coded as right-wing, white supremacist, the manifesto is out the next day, right? They can't rush that out fast enough. This one didn't get released. Anytime something doesn't fit that narrative, they drop the subject. That happened with the massage parlor shootings. You didn't hear about it once the story got complicated.
All right, let's do Elon before we go. We got one more segment. You got time for one more, Mr. Dore?
Sure.
All right, beautiful. All right, this is a big one this week. Elon Musk threatens thermonuclear lawsuits. That's violent. Against media watchdog, calls advertisers oppressors. Elon Musk lashed out at large advertisers and Media Matters, a media watchdog group, on Friday after several major brands decided to pause spending on X, the social media platform he owns and runs as a CTO. Musk wrote late Friday night, the split-second court opens on Monday. X Corp will be filing a thermonuclear lawsuit against Media Matters and all those who colluded in this fraudulent attack on our company, he added. Their board, their donors, their network of dark money, all of them, and the discovery and depositions will be glorious to behold in subsequent tweets. Media Matters for America published a report last week showing ads for mainstream brands on X, formerly Twitter, were running alongside user posts espousing pro-Nazi views. The report came after Musk personally posted a spat of tweets that the White House called an abhorrent promotion of anti-Semitic and racist hate. In response, advertisers including Apple, Comcast, NBC Universal, the parent company of CNBC, which is where this article was written, Disney, IBM, Lionsgate, Paramount Global, and Warner Brothers Discovery then decided to halt their ad spending, at least temporarily, on the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. Musk hawked a paid ad-free subscription version of X in a tweet after news of suspended campaigns surfaced. He wrote, Premium Plus also has no ads in your timeline. Many of the largest advertisers are the greatest oppressors of your right to free speech. He did not specify which large advertisers he believes are oppressors. A spokesperson for X, Joe Benarach, emailed a company blog post to CNBC that alleges Media Matters has completely misrepresented the real user experience of the social network. Last week, Musk agreed with a post falsely claiming that Jewish people have been pushing dialectical hatred against white people. Musk called the anti-Semitic post the actual truth, prompting a backlash from brands, critics, and even the White House. The morning of the 17th, the White House admonished Musk, saying he had engaged in an abhorrent promotion of anti-Semitic and racist hate, which runs against our core values as Americans. Later on Friday, Musk declared a new policy for his social network. See, these guys don't think. They just react. It's all impulse, right? It's all, oh, who do I have to please now to make a buck? So he tweets this out. In response to Colin Wright, decolonization is the woke version of jihad, and it should be viewed and treated that way. Yes, decolonization necessarily implies a Jewish genocide. Thus, it is unacceptable to any reasonable person. As I said earlier this week, he quote tweets that response in this tweet on November 17th. As I said earlier this week, decolonization, from the river to the sea, and similar euphemisms necessarily imply genocide, clear calls for extreme violence are against our terms of service and will result in suspension. So now he's threatening to ban those exact words and phrases. Somebody responds here, Amjad Masad, this won't help you bring the ad spend, to be honest. Just stick to your principles. I am sticking to my principles. As for any fake advocacy groups, he's talking about Media Matters there, who seek to suppress free speech, they should remember that karma is real. Now, Jonathan Greenblatt, who runs the Anti-Defamation League, quote tweets this threat to ban the phrase decolonization and from the river to the sea and said, this is an important and welcome move by Elon Musk. I appreciate this leadership in fighting hate. So there you see, Elon, when in hot water, he caved, folded like an end table. Folded because it's all impulse with these guys. And it's funny because in developing a little bit of a Twitter presence, not that I have a large one, I've noticed that, and Jimmy, I would be very interested to get your take on this. Do you think Twitter is more free now than it was under Jack Dorsey? I have a feeling it probably is. I don't think we'd be seeing a lot of these videos now of the carnage in Gaza on the old Twitter. Do you think that's true? I mean, you've been on it longer than I have. You'd know much better than I would.
Well, definitely, it helped that Elon got vaccine injured, so you could then say criticisms of COVID and those things. And that's a huge, super big deal. So yeah, I mean, he brought back a lot of people who had been banned before. But I think he's like the number one defense contractor or something. Like he's a huge defense contractor.
Well, that's the thing. He seems to defend your right to speak if you happen to agree with him on a certain cause that's important to him.
Yeah.
And if you don't, he'll throw you right under the bus.
And so now this is how they're controlling him through his advertising dollars, and he caves immediately. So yeah, I mean, it is a little bit better, and that's what I always expected. I was always expected it to be just a little bit better, and I never expected it to be what it's supposed to be. But now we have people like literally calling for the banning. So Keith Olbermann called for the banning of Twitter.
Yeah.
And imagine if Trump did that. What they would be saying about Trump called for the banning of Facebook or Instagram or anything, or a newspaper. They would. He's Hitler. He's this. He's that. But they are. So that my theory is that guys like that, like Keith Olbermann and Cenk Uygur, and the people who scream the loudest about Donald Trump are the people who are projecting their horribleness onto Donald Trump. And so Donald Trump is like the whipping boy. He's the excuse for them to be as horrible as they want. And we saw Keith Olbermann go after who's her name? What's her name? Riley Grimes, the swimmer. Is that what?
Riley Gaines.
Yeah. Riley Gaines. He went after her in the most disgusting, vile way. That things that people would pretend Trump would say about women. Right. Keith Olbermann did that. And so that just proves it's a fact that guys like Keith Olbermann, Cenk Uygur are, they everything they say about Trump, they're saying into a mirror. And don't look for billionaires to be your heroes, because they're always going to be class loyal. And so again, I don't know what it's going to take for Americans to. The plan is to have homeless people under every bridge. That's the plan. You can't deny that's not the plan anymore. I live in California. I started off this show saying they had a $40 billion surplus, and nobody ever suggested, hey, maybe we'll clean up the homeless people first. And then they never did. That never even came up. And now that surplus is gone. And I really, again, I can't wait for people to get pissed off enough to actually go and scare the shit out of the people in Washington, D.C., in the Capitol and at the White House. And because that's the only thing that's going to change anything. And they're smart enough to get rid of the draft. But they again, I'll go back to Russ's amazing article. They created a Frankenstein. And it's time for that Frankenstein to turn on its creator.
Well, and that's you mentioned Riley Gaines, and we do not support violence. And you're seeing a couple of weeks ago they trapped some Jewish students in the library at Cooper Union, and everybody was freaking out, as they should. But I said, hey, they trapped Riley Gaines in a classroom for 3 hours. You had people threatening her on camera. We know who these people are. Why wasn't anyone arrested? Why wasn't anyone expelled?
Make her lose her pride, they said, right?
Make her lose her pride. What does that mean exactly? I mean, that is really a horrible thing to direct at a young woman. Make her lose her pride. What exactly are you implying you're going to do to her to make her lose her pride? So they did absolutely nothing about it. So you shouldn't be surprised when people who have been involved in these movements that you've encouraged, that you've incited, and that you have allowed any tactics to go without consequence, if now that they've taken up this cause, they're crossing those lines. You taught them that. You taught them that that is the way to express political opinions. Right?
And I saw when they did that to Riley Grimes, I saw quote unquote lefty podcasters who just turned into shit libs. They equated that with Stonewall. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, it's quite the something.
And their shithead audience goes along with that. That's the opposite of what happened. The cops were fucking with the trans people, not the trans fucking with the cops.
Right.
It was the exact that it's so now you're because this is over a trans issue, you're allowed to invoke violence. No, you're not invoking violence at the cops. You're invoking violence over a biological woman.
Right. Yeah, there were about 60 of them and one of her.
Yeah, who's not doing anything except using her words to stand up for female spaces.
And she actually said that at her talk, there were people who protested her, who disagreed with her, who challenged her, but were cool. Like they went and they expressed their disagreement, and she had a back and forth. And then after the event, that happened. All right, well, Jimmy, you've given us 2.5 hours. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Do you want to plug any dates before we let you go? We got to take some super chats and do some book work on our end, but what do you got coming up?
I'll be in. I was going to plug the Burbank show this Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. I'm doing a stand-up show with Kurt and Steph on Friday in Burbank, but I just got a text from the booker that the show is sold out, and he wanted to ask me if I wanted to add a second show, and I was like, no thanks. One show is enough for me. And so I'm not touring until February, but I'll be in Oxnard, California, December 17th, I think. And then I'll be in Palmdale, that fucking horrible Palmdale.
You're going to get quite a welcome in Palmdale at the rate you're going.
I've never been to Palmdale. I'm just guessing since it's so far out that it's gotta be horrible. But
by the way, before you go, I went to school in Albany, so I know the Cohoes Theater you're talking about.
That's a beautiful theater.
It's a beautiful old palace. Yeah.
Oh my God, I want to shoot my next special there. It's so beautiful. And how the fuck did I sell whatever that is 500 tickets? Like I was just going there on a lark. Like these people invited me to go, and people in the chat said, hey, you should play the theater we have in Cohoes, New York. I'm like, all right, I'll go there. How the fuck did I sell 500, whatever that is? I think it's a 400 or 500 seat theater. It's beautiful.
As I recall, yeah, that sounds about right.
I mean, it is really a beautiful. It's perfect for comedy because it's in a half crescent, and so none of the seats are, and it has a balcony, so none of the seats are that far away from you. Right. So it's still an intimate experience. And then I looked, I'm like, there's what is there, 18,000 people live in Cohoes or something like that? And they go, oh, well, it's Albany. There's only like fucking 90,000 people.
Yeah, Albany's about 90,000. Yeah.
There's not that many fucking people that I shouldn't sell that many tickets there. Same thing in Northampton, Massachusetts. Right. So it's an 800.
And that's a major lib town. I went to school in Amherst for a year and a half. I never finished college, but I went in Amherst, and yeah, that's a big lib town.
Yeah,
so it's not easy for someone like you to sell out Northampton. Yeah.
So there was 800 seats, and somebody invited us there, and I'm like, if I sell 100 or 200 seats on the main floor, I won't be embarrassed. But we sold 800 tickets. I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, I don't sell those kind of tickets in Houston or Dallas. You know what I mean? How the fuck did I do that in the middle of nowhere?
Because there's a hunger out there for that kind of edgy, topical comedy that not many people are providing. That used to be what comedy was. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
now it's what?
Now it's a bunch of comedians telling you to listen to what the man on the TV tells you and shut up.
Donald Trump.
And Donald Trump and questioning authority makes you a bad person. I mean, even Louis Black, who's a sweetheart of a guy. I love Louis Black, but it's just establishment comedy now. Look at Jon Stewart, right?
Right.
I did comedy in Red Bank, New Jersey, which everybody told me Jon Stewart lives there, and and I tried to get him to come to the show. I told him we were going to have a Nazi and a medal ceremony, the whole thing. and
that didn't entice him.
That didn't get him out.
I couldn't get him out of his house. So yeah, it's just amazing to me to see Jon Stewart be indignant about. I remember there was a video that went viral of him getting in Charlie Kirk's face at a park somewhere over, and it's just like, who in the fuck are you pretending you are? You're no better than anybody. You're just a fucking another mouthpiece of the establishment, and everybody appreciates you stood up for the 9/11 workers. But why don't you tell people the truth about 9/11? Why don't you tell the people the truth about Ukraine? Why don't you tell the people the truth about COVID? Why don't you tell people the truth about big pharma? Why don't you? He won't. He'll never fucking do that. Why don't you apologize for hanging a medal on a Nazi? He won't. And so that's another hero bites the dust. Don't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
Don't get close to them. They bite the dust. And Jon Stewart's, again, just like Sasha Baron Cohen, extremely talented. I think Jon Stewart's tremendously talented. He invented a form of comedy that
he's great. Yeah.
That like that with his videos and the way he did that, he kind of invented that, and I learned a lot by watching him, and it's just sad. It's just sad. And I welcome him on my show, and I welcome his awakening. You know, I welcome his mea culpa and his coming around to the decent side of the arguments. And having courage to tell the truth, but these guys won't. They know where they. He made that joke on. I'm sorry, am I taking over your show? Should I shut up?
No, you're good.
No.
He made that joke when he went on Stephen Colbert about where the origin of the COVID virus.
Right.
Yeah, it was a great
right.
bit. And Colbert stepped on it.
They did to him what they did to me when I interviewed a Boogaloo Boy. Right? They called him a right winger and all this stuff.
He got a taste of that.
He was like, "Oh boy, I never want to go through that again." And so he had to give a tongue bath to two of the biggest bloodthirsty warmongers, torture program orderers, Condoleezza Rice and Hillary Clinton. And then he had to bring on 4 people to lie about COVID instead of bringing on someone who had a counter narrative about the vaccine. And he brought on 4 people. Establishment fucks lied about it. He genuflected at the altar of vaccines. And then he'll never tell the truth. Then he hung a medal on a Nazi at Disney World. And everything was forgiven. He got his Emmy nomination for a show that nobody watches.
Yeah, and that's not even on anymore.
And then they gave him a bullshit reason why they canceled it, because he was standing up for his freedom of speech.
Right, yeah, they canceled it.
That was a big lie. He got canceled because no one's watching that fucking show.
Well, and for good reason. I mean, actually, some of the segments he did on that show were What's that?
Stomach churning. If you watch the episode he did with Andrew, what's his fucking name? The right wing columnist guy. He's not even right wing.
Sullivan.
Sullivan.
Yeah, Andrew Sullivan. Watch that. That will turn your fucking stomach.
Some of his pieces were so dishonest that it was one of those things when I was watching it, because you could see all of these techniques they used on The Daily Show, and then you had to look back and say, well, how much of that was bullshit? Because in issues that I know a lot about, I could see what he was doing. I could see how he was picking the person who would be least able to argue with him. Yes. Somebody who really could not stand up and debate him. And he'd use that person as a foil to make them look stupid, to make his argument unquestionable. Clearly, anyone who thinks anything else is a moron.
And of course, when he has those interviews where he corners someone over gun violence and their support of guns, he'll never bring up SSRIs. He'll never bring up antidepressants. He'll never bring up the cause of. We've had guns in America since we started. Why are we only having mass shootings recently since the introduction of SSRIs? I'm not saying. I think the SSRIs are safe and effective, and they certainly will stop you from getting whatever. But he'll never entertain that thought. It was all virtue signaling. And so again, it's another one bites the dust. And I want people. I want to be jealous of people. You know, it makes me try to be better. I don't want to just be jealous of their platform. Like, I'm jealous of Bill Maher's platform, and I'm jealous of the fact that he gets to influence the culture. Because if he says something, because it's on establishment media, it actually makes a wave, you know? So when he said something about bodily autonomy during COVID, it actually had an effect on whereas when I say it on my show, I feel like it just gets discredited immediately. But I do reach a lot of people. And,
hey man, I mean, this is true. I told you this. You reached me. You were one of the first shows I started watching when I was coming out of I started 2015 supporting Hillary Clinton.
Oh my God.
I did. I was a Hillary Clinton supporter.
And so when you saw my show, did you go, just Jimmy Dore's an asshole and a right winger, or did it take a while?
I mean, by the time I started watching it, I was starting to ask those kinds of questions and I was looking for answers.
Oh, okay.
So that was at a point I was open to questioning what I had always believed, or I wouldn't have been watching you. I started seeking out.
Okay.
I was an MSNBC guy, man.
Me too.
The whole nightmare, Chris Matthews all the way through fucking Lawrence O'Donnell. I'd have that shit on.
I know. I used to watch it all night because I had hurt my back and I couldn't walk and shit. And so I would just sit on the couch and watch MSNBC from start to finish, their primetime lineup. And I would take
Republicans.
Right. Yeah. And I'm like, how could people fucking vote Republican?
Right. Yep.
How can people, don't they see? And then it just took me a little bit longer to. It was Bernie Sanders. That's really well. I saw through Barack Obama. I still voted for him twice, but I saw it. Like, oh, this is fucking horrible. And then it was the Hillary Clinton and stealing the nomination from Bernie Sanders, and then Bernie Sanders not pushing back. He didn't make one reform. They didn't get corporate money out of it. They didn't get rid of super delegates. He didn't demand anything for his support. Nothing. Just like all those people, who supported Joe Biden, he didn't do it again. He didn't make a demand for his support. Nothing. And
see, okay, so that's where you went in one direction, and I went in another for a little while, running in parallel. You very early on said he's sheepdogging people into the Democratic Party. Now, I said at that, and I actually talked about that you were taking that view with people. I said, listen, he could be right, but I have to leave everything on the field. I have to try this inside-out approach. I have to try this Goldwater thing where we're going to get people elected to lower offices and we're going to build, right? So I was out there volunteering for AOC when she was a bartender. So I tried that route. But then we saw what happened. And I said, well, when you're right, you're right. But at first, I felt like we have to try to go that way before we can really say, okay, this is electoralism just isn't going to work. I had to run the experiment personally.
It really isn't going to work. Every once in a while, someone comes along that gets me excited. I was excited when I heard Cornell said he was going to run. And then when I saw his rhetoric, and he didn't even have the courage to use the right rhetoric, let alone wait till he got elected or had any power to fucking sell out. And then RFK Jr., I'm like, well, this guy has taken the slings and arrows from the establishment in every which way they could throw it at him. So he's not obviously going to give up. And then, of course, he just shit the bed. And I really have to wash my hands of electoral politics, but again, never say never. But I just don't see until people actually go do a. I'm not gonna say I'm encouraging anything except them going to Washington and putting the kind of pressure on politicians that scares the hell out of them. And that's what they have to do. I mean,
that's the only thing that scares them.
Apparently, they were okay with people going to the houses of Supreme Court justices. So I guess that's okay now, right? That's
Norm Finkelstein led a march to Chuck Schumer's residence in Brooklyn, and they protested out there. And we're seeing politicians. Elizabeth Warren was confronted. These are all peaceful, as they should be, but that's what it has to be. It has to be constant pressure.
Yeah, Chuck Schumer lives in Brooklyn. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh, boy. Brooklyn, the most overrated fucking borough in the world.
Easy now. Now we're going to see. That's going to be what makes me turn on you now.
No, I mean,
you know when I knew it was over? They took down the "How Sweet It Is" Jackie Gleason sign.
What's
that's what you used to see coming into Brooklyn.
No,
how
kidding.
Sweet It Is, Jackie Gleason. Now they took it down. I don't know, Brooklyn, City of Brotherly Love, some shit.
Are you shitting me?
Something like that.
Don't they call it isn't there a sign, the Republic of Brooklyn, on the People's Republic of Brooklyn on there? Not People's Republic. They wouldn't do that.
I mean, when you come across the Brooklyn Bridge now, they took down Jackie Gleason.
I'm thinking of another bridge. That's what it is. I'm thinking of the I forget.
Who is the writer, Fran? Jewish Fran.
Fran Lebowitz.
Yeah. So I saw her being, or I read an interview with her, maybe, or I saw her being interviewed. I used to love when she went on David Letterman. Those were the good old days. You know,
Yeah, she's funny too. She's got a terrific sense of humor.
A terrific sense of humor. And she was against the Disneyfication of Times Square.
Right.
And she said, she made the comment about Brooklyn. She says, now you have Hollywood stars moving to Brooklyn. Hollywood stars don't move to Brooklyn. They come from Brooklyn.
Exactly.
Well, she's old school New York. I think she lives on the Upper East Side. She walks around all the time. She's a fixture of her neighborhood. So yeah, she's one of these old intellectual Jewish Manhattanites, you know, with a great sense of humor. She's a very specific type, and she's very funny.
And she also made a point about how, you know, these people now you have billionaires living in Brooklyn, right? People people worth $400 million. She goes, how do you get $400 million? You don't make $400 million. You steal $400 million.
Right.
And yeah, I would like to see more of her and get her take on Trump, and if she actually figured it out, because she seems like she'd probably be the first one on the Upper East Side to figure that out if anybody was gonna.
She hated Bernie.
Maybe.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, she hated Bernie. She didn't like Hillary either, but she was very.
She thought he was a nudge.
Well, it turns out he is.
He kind of was a nudge. Yeah, I guess we can't hold that against.
She didn't like him for the wrong reasons.
Right. Yeah, that's right. But it's the vagina gets in the way.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It really did. I mean, I could see if we never had a guy president, and then all of a sudden you feel like the time has come, and then there's some motherfucking. Somebody else who's going to screw that up.
But she wasn't really into Hillary either. She's always been a big critic of Bill and Hillary. She never liked the Clintons either. You know, she's one of these old, she's a real classic, iconoclast type. You know, she has something negative to say about everybody, the way Hitchens was. You know what I mean? Like these intellectuals who find a way to very cleverly take the piss out of just about everybody. Very few people they actually like. So she was not a Hillary supporter, but she was certainly not a Bernie person either.
Did you agree with what Hitchens said about Mother Teresa?
Oh man, what did he call her? A thieving Albanian dwarf. That was what he called her. That's great. You know, I don't know much. I don't know, Jew boy that I am. I never really looked into Mother Teresa too much, but it was certainly a funny turn of phrase.
Oh, she died with a lot of Apple stock.
I'm
kidding. No. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Don't come for me. Was it Opus Dei? Don't come for me.
We didn't even talk about my pot departure.
Well, why don't you talk about your pot departure for a little bit? You already covered it on your show, but if you want to talk about it more, yeah, go ahead. So you quit smoking pot. So you were, I guess, a good influence on Snoop Dogg because he followed you.
Yeah, he did. You inspired him.
Yeah, well, God damn it, I'm first on everything. And so, yeah, because people, when I was getting ready to do my special in 2022, I wanted to lose a little weight. So I had kind of a gut. So I quit drinking, and during COVID, I was never that big of a drinker. I would have some martinis when I would do a live show. I'd like to get a little sauce to do a live show. It made me funny in a different way. And
live podcast shows where you would do
not stand up.
Yeah,
not stand up. I could do that, but the video shows, I like to get in a little sauce for those. And a lot of times, this, like when I was in Chicago, the second show was more fun than the first show, right? And 'cause I was a little hammered, and but then when I wanted to lose weight, so I stopped. I started drinking Negronis when I got vaccine injured because I would have to have a couple of drinks to feel normal. And I felt like shit all day. And then I would have a couple of cocktails, and I found out that made me feel normal. And so that's not good. And so I did that for a while. And then before my special, I was like, I want to stop. So I would announce to the audiences, yeah, I quit drinking and I quit smoking pot. And they would go, oh, like they would get sad that I quit smoking pot. And then I would tell them, when I say I quit drinking and quit smoking pot, I mean, I didn't quit fucking smoking pot. And then they would cheer,
Right.
And so through a bunch of different circuits, when I went to Toronto on September 2nd, 2 sold out shows at the Royal Theatre. And I didn't want to bring pot to another country because I got to go through customs and I don't want to get caught and spend time in jail in a foreign country. And then when I get to my hotel, right across the street, there's a pot store in Toronto. I was like, oh, it's legal here. I didn't even know. But I'd already decided to not smoke. And so I decided, well, let's just go for the weekend without smoking. And then I decided I just wanted to continue. And long story short, I can't sleep without it because I've been smoking pot for 20 years. And so I decided I would just smoke a bowl before I went to sleep. And that's what I did for a while. And then I went to Italy. And again, I didn't want to bring weed with me to another country. And I couldn't get any weed in Italy. And so I just went cold turkey there. Didn't sleep the whole fucking time. And then when I came back, I just continued. It's just like I just lost the urge. People are like, oh, did your life get fucked up? No, pot actually was helpful to me in a lot of ways. And it didn't become destructive. It just, for whatever reason, and I chalk it up to this unconscious journey I'm on, going into my this Jungian unconscious journey. And once you surrender, like you're the part of your consciousness that you're aware of, when you're awake, is not in control. It is not in control. That is the iceberg. Most of the icebergs underneath the water.
Right,
the same thing with who you are. Who you are is mostly hidden from you.
Right.
And it's in your unconscious. And so this journey into my unconscious, and one of the part of it is,
you're confronting the shadow self.
Yes, and you recognize that you're not in control. It's almost religious in a sense that your unconscious, which is where God is in control. And and the way to salvation, as Jung says, is through complete surrender by keeping your eyes on the center. And the eyes on the center means the self, capital S, which is God. He used different terms. He didn't want to be, dismissed by talking in those kind of terms. So he called it the self, capital S, and that's who you are. That's your conscious mind, your unconscious coming together, and the self. And so I've realized that I'm actually not in control, and that there's a greater power in control, and that's in my unconscious. And so it's led me to accept every situation that I'm in. Eckhart Tolle has a saying. He said, treat every situation you're in as if you have chosen it yourself. Well, you actually did. Carl Jung had a way of saying it. He said, the unconscious sets up the future well in advance, which is why it can be guessed at by clairvoyance. And so every time I experience a situation that I don't want or I don't accept, I accept it. Like, oh my God, I obviously the greater power that is in my unconscious set this up for a reason. There's not that I'm not going to try and change it but what is it here for? It's here for a reason. I'm not in control. What am I supposed to learn? Even illnesses. Gabor Mate talks about that. Your body say no, and your body's giving you a message. And not that you don't take medicine and try to get better, but that it's there for a purpose, and it's there. And if you can actually accept that it's there for a person, you can actually grow and learn from it. And that's that's the kind of journey I'm on. And the pot thing, I never thought I would ever quit smoking pot. And it didn't take any energy for me. And it didn't take an act of will to stop smoking. It just kind of fell away. Like I just didn't need it anymore. It's what Bill Hicks said about alcohol. They asked him, why did you quit drinking? And he said, I just didn't need it anymore. Right. And he needed it to get to a place that he wanted to get to, as did I. I needed weed to get to a place as a performer and a creative person that I couldn't get to without it. And I haven't needed it for quite a while. I can get to, so I stopped smoking pot before I went on stage, probably, 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. I used to smoke pot and go on stage, and it really made me a much better performer. And I don't need it. I haven't needed it for a while. So I stopped doing that, and I don't need it to write anymore, to create. And so I just kind of let it go. So just to explain to people, I just kind of let it go, and it's not some Herculean effort. But what is the Herculean effort is that I am going through withdrawals. So I didn't know that it was so physically addicting, and it is. This idea, I didn't think it was physically addicting, marijuana. It is, and I'm really going through it. So I was in bed all the way up till a half hour before I came on the air with you, feeling like I had the flu. And so I got up and I took a really hot shower, and then I had a couple of cups of hot tea, and that led me to feel kind of where I am able to do your show. And So I don't know. I like talking about it because I wish I had heard someone talk about it before I went through it. And so I want to talk about it, and I appreciate you giving me the platform to talk about it. Do either of you smoke pot?
I never did. It always made me tired. I mean, I smoked a handful of times in my life, but I just never took to it.
All right. So I smoked a lot when I was way too young to be smoking. I smoked a lot when I was 14 and 15. And then something happened. There was a big pot bust in New York City when I was 15. They seized this whole shit, and it was dry for like 2 weeks. You could not get pot. And my head cleared out immediately.
Really?
And I stopped. Like here and there, I smoked a joint here, but I was a pothead. All my friends were. We were all these heavy metal potheads, right?
Uh-huh.
But after that, because I saw how it was affecting me, I saw what the effect was by being off it for a couple of weeks. But what you're going through, what you're talking about, that is what I went through when I quit smoking during COVID.
Smoking cigarettes?
Nicotine, yeah.
Nicotine. That shit, because look, the physical nicotine addiction, that's gone pretty quickly. But that gets into the whole way that your brain regulates itself. Same thing. I couldn't sleep. I had I went insane. I went completely insane.
Really?
I couldn't sleep for over a month. I could not sleep for more than 2 hours at a time.
So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I sleep.
No, as you were talking about that, I was like, listen, man, Keaton was a very good partner because he stuck with me through that, and I was not in a good place. Like that was all because not only are you going to be dealing with all the shifts, you're going to be dealing, not to get personal, you're going to be dealing with the things that made you smoke in the first place. Those things come out. Like you said, you're on a Jungian journey, that subconscious, all that stuff. You're right. Your behavior is defined by all the stuff that you're avoiding. Mm-hmm. And once you stop avoiding it, you're able to integrate and become a much happier, healthier person. But it's a rough trip, man. It's a rough trip getting there.
So I was also a cigarette smoker. I loved cigarettes.
Nothing ever got on top of me like cigarettes did, man. I never had trouble picking up or putting down alcohol. Obviously, I never had trouble with pot. Cigarettes got on me that was the monkey on my back. For 27 years, I couldn't quit.
So, I mean, they were like my buddy. I liked cigarettes. Like I just liked having them around,
Well, a great Hitchens bit on cigarettes. He says, it's your perfect little friend. He says, if you're hungry, you smoke a cigarette, you don't want to eat anymore. If you have no appetite and you want to sort of get the appetite going, have a little smoke, get the appetite going. It'll keep you up. If you're tired, it'll help you relax if you can't fall asleep. And then he says, come to think of it, I don't know why I ever quit the shit. I don't even think I ever gave it up.
Well, it gives you what's dangerous about cigarettes and what's self-medicating about it is it's giving you those little dopamine hits, which gives your brain the illusion that something good is happening, that you're accomplishing something, and you're not. You're not doing anything. You're not accomplishing anything. And that is why I don't know anybody who smokes cigarettes who doesn't have something they're avoiding, right? Because it's instead of going for the stuff that's really going to make you feel good, you're giving your brain the illusion that you're doing something or feeling good about what's happening around you. And that's why you quit. And that is a big, big mind fuck because all of a sudden your brain has to manufacture its own dopamine and has to actually face reality and find happiness without a substance. And it sounds similar to what you're going through.
So when I, my quitting cigarettes, in retrospect, it has to do with my unconscious. And this was probably around 2010, maybe. I was working in San Francisco, and I had this dream. I remember I had this dream, and in the dream, my brother and I, my brother who's a smoker also, we were back on the job, the construction job, and we were eating burritos, and in the burrito was tar. It was just filled with tar, and I'm eating it, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, it's like Detroit style, right?
Yeah. So it was, and it was making me sick to my stomach, yet I kept eating it. And I'm like, why are we fucking eating these things? And my brother's like, I don't know. We just kept eating it. It's like, because you got to eat lunch. And so I just kept eating it in my stomach. And when I woke up, I was a little sick to my stomach from the dream. And then every time I went to have a cigarette, I thought about that dream and I got sick to my stomach. And so I didn't smoke, and I never had a cigarette since then.
Wow.
And it wasn't hard. Again, it was just like pot. It was just like I just let it go. I didn't go through. I had quit before, and it was hard.
Right.
But this time it was like a gift.
You were ready. Yeah.
It was a gift from my unconscious, and it just was like, hey, you got to let this go. And I just let it go. And that was that. So that was like, now, I don't know, 13 years ago, 14 years ago. And like I always knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm not going to be a fucking 60-year-old smoker. That's the dumbest thing you could do. And I knew I was going to quit at some point, but I just wasn't, you know?
Right.
And so that's how it happened for me. And I don't remember having a hard time with the sleeping or anything, but that's because I was probably smoking weed. So I had weed.
Right. I find people who smoke weed, who also smoke cigarettes, don't really go through that shit when they quit smoking.
That's it.
Right,
so
you have another thing, right?
Yeah.
My weed smoking increased for sure when I quit smoking cigarettes. Yeah, so that covered over all the withdrawal from cigarettes, and now I got nothing to cover over the withdrawal from cigarettes, and I feel so shitty. I'm not even drinking alcohol, right? And not even sake nothing. So yeah, it's quite a journey. Anyway.
Well, thanks for sharing. No, it's a great thing to share because I'm sure people go through that, and we will clip that for sure. Although it's not going to be as good as the Bohemian Grove thing. I mean, it's really not. I mean, it's good.
I'll send you some of the physical stuff that I used.
People are going to think I'm kidding about the Bohemian Grove thing.
I'm just kidding. I won't clip the Bohemian Grove thing if that's.
I mean, you could clip. But people are like, oh, really? You got. I'm telling you what happened.
No,
I mean, if we can clip it, we'll clip it.
If we can clip it, we're going to clip it. I don't want to put you out. I don't want to put you in a tough spot.
And then then my phone getting hacked by. If you've ever heard.
Listen, Jimmy, if we don't clip it, the Vanguard's going to clip it.
Yeah, that's right. That. You might as well clip it. Come on. You might as well. I don't know if I've talked about it on my show yet, but you might as well clip it because I'll go ahead and talk about it on my show tomorrow.
Well, you kind of hinted it. You hinted
at
it on
you
Friday,
did.
Right?
You did. You
kind of
mentioned it.
You didn't go all the way say Bohemian Grove, but you kind of went there, right? Didn't you say that on one of your streams last week?
I think I did. Yeah, I think I might have said something like that. So I got invited to a party, not a party, a dinner at a billionaire's house. And normally I say no. Normally I don't like to eat dinner at people's houses. Fuck you. The food always sucks. And you know me, I like restaurants. I don't have kids.
Don't say that. I'm going to Keaton's for Thanksgiving.
He is going to my place.
That's
for Thanksgiving.
different. But me, I like restaurants, and that's one of the perks of not having kids, right? One of the downsides is your life is empty, and you have no, and you have no one to bury you. But one of the perks is I get to go to restaurants. And I love restaurants. I really do. And what was the fucking point of this?
Talking about you don't eat food at people's
houses. For some fucking crazy reason, I accepted this invite to have dinner at this billionaire's house, and it was just 4 people. And so I went. And I got to tell you, the fucking food was fantastic. And they didn't have a chef. I'm like, well, they'll have a chef.
Wow, that's what I was going to say.
I show up, there's no fucking chef. I'm like, there's no fucking chef. He's like, no, I did it myself. I'm like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. And they made salmon and organic chicken, and they had an angel hair pasta that was out of this world. And the whole time I'm just sitting there, and if I'm eating something I like, I emote. and I'll do a And what really annoys me is that if I'm eating something and it's great, and the other people just want to talk and they don't want to talk about the fucking food.
Right.
I remember another fucking millionaire friend when I first moved to LA. Also a connection to the Kennedys. Isn't that interesting? So this guy, very nice guy, invented medical devices, and he made all this money. And I knew him because I knew the woman who got involved with him. Blah blah. So they would take us out to restaurants, and so we're at a restaurant, and they were serving a pork chop, and the billionaire says to the waiter, "What kind of pig is it?" And I was like, "What kind of pig is it?" and I was like, I thought he was fucking around.
Right.
And the waiter said, "Let me ask the chef." And I was like, "This is a fucking thing, you guys." And so they come back and they go, "It's red swaddling. It's from they named the farmer and the farm in Iowa." And I was like, "Get the fuck out." I go, "Well, I guess I'm putting the pork chop, right?" And so the pork chop came. It was so mind-blowing that I was just sitting there, and I put my hand on my head, and I asked everyone to please stop talking. Please stop talking and just eat. And so they did for like 5 minutes. And I don't eat pork anymore. That's just one of the things I but that was probably the last time I had a pork chop, and I'll never fucking forget that. And that was just so we go there, and they had great food, which was weird that you never have great food at people's houses. I've had at that same guy who took me for that pork chop. He had a pasta. He made pasta at his house. One time we're at his house. He's like, "Hey, stay for dinner. I'm making pasta." Okay, fucking horrible. And he made it in a way that was wrong, so that it fucking stayed in my stomach like a rock. And then I fucking got constipated and couldn't shit for 2 days. Never eat it.
How do you mess that up? You boil the water, you throw in the pasta, you put the ragu on the saucepan, you open the jar, right?
It's like most people, it's like they can fuck up eggs. It's like It's just. So anyway, yeah, I don't like to eat at people's houses ever.
All right. Well, now I know not to monologue when I'm in LA and we're at dinner.
Oh no, it depends. It depends, but you at least have to acknowledge the food and then talk about it a little bit. You can't not fucking talk about the food. The fuck? Like we're not doing anything. We're here. This is what we're here for.
It depends what you're eating. You're eating like Big Kahuna Burger. You don't have to.
Well, that's what he means. Yeah.
My favorite sushi place is at the end of my street. And I used to go there, and I told you it's like going to a funeral, right? Parlor. There's no music, the lights are up 100%, nobody talks to you, and there's never anybody in there. And that's where I met Clooney, and I met Shatner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I found a new place, and I'm not going to tell anybody what it is. But the fish is just as good, if not better. And they're so personable. And it turns out I really like that. I like service, They walk in. I went there once. When I went back, they remembered my name. And they remembered where I sat. They go, "Do you want to sit where you sat last time?" And I was like, "How the fuck? I haven't been here for 2 weeks, and I just only here once." And they're like, "You want to sit where you sat?" And so that's just where I go. And I abandoned the funeral home sushi place. I used to like that. I went to that place, but it was great fish. Anyway, I'm talking too much about food. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you so much for 3 hours, Jimmy Dore, going the distance with us tonight. Round of applause for our guest of the evening. Jimmy, it was great to see you again. Thank you so much for making time for us. Really appreciate it. Everybody knows where to find you.
When are you coming out to Los Angeles?
Hopefully soon. My uncle lives out in Long Beach.
Oh, no kidding.
And so, we have a place out there that we could stay at. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to come back. My wife loves it in Southern California. She's always saying how she wants to get a job and move a job out there and move out there because she loves it there.
Do you tell people what your wife does? Or is that
she's a lactation consultant. She works at a hospital. She helps mothers breastfeed.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Well, and YouTube just lifted its restrictions on breastfeeding on YouTube. So I'm saying sub-channel.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We could do a breastfeeding channel on the side. Yeah, we're allowed to show breastfeeding nudity now on YouTube.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2. I have twins. They're 4 years old.
Oh, okay. They have the twin.
Yep.
Russ, you don't have any kids?
Grown.
Your kids are grown?
Mm-hmm.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I don't know why you're being so tight-lipped. It's certainly you don't have a child support problem, do you?
Oh no, nothing
okay.
like that. No.
Well, look at you. Do you still in touch with your kids, or have they disowned you?
I'm in touch with 2 of them.
Oh, okay. All right. So I don't mean to bring up a painful topic. I watched that Diane and Nyad film last night on Netflix. You guys have you seen that?
What's that?
What is it?
You know who Diane and Nyad is?
No.
Hang on. What is this movie?
The Swimmer.
Oh, right.
Who?
She's a swimmer.
This is what? Annette Bening is in it, right?
Annette Bening plays Diana Nyad, and she tried to swim from Cuba to Florida, and when she was 28 years old, I think she was an Olympian champion, and then she became a wide world of sports commentator and host for 30 years, and then when she was 60 years old, she decided. So she tried to make the swim when she was 28, didn't make it. And in order to swim from Cuba to Florida, that takes 60 hours. 66. That's over 2 days straight fucking swimming. And when she was 60, she's like, I bet I could do it. And so that's what the movie's about. I don't want to spoiler alert it or anything, but it was in the news. It happened in 2013. And so I watched the movie last night. Fuck, that woman is a fucking beast. In the best way possible. A fucking beast. Anyway, I don't know why I brought that up.
Jamie, before you go, I have one of your favorite quotes on the soundboard.
Okay, she doesn't have kids. She didn't have kids. She's a lesbian. That's why.
You're going to get your mind right. And I mean right.
Yeah, we can trust that for
That's the quote?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know you quote that a lot on the show.
Yeah, well, you see people getting they got their mind right over at Breaking Points. They got their mind right over at Secular Talk. The Young Turks have had their mind right the whole fucking time. Rokana got his mind right. They all got their mind right.
Yep. Majority Report.
Well, they were born right. They've had their mind
right. You tell me. See, I didn't see it in the Michael Brooks days. You tell me he was a little more. A little more. I don't know. I didn't watch that one.
They've been on the radio since Air America. Air America was that start.
Back in those Bernie days, I was watching Jimmy, Secular Talk, and the Young Turks. Yeah, those are my 3 go-tos back then.
But yeah, the Young Turks turned to Hillary way quick. I was the last holdout. I never did. I never switched.
Yep.
That's.
I mean that I never bought into the argument we needed to vote for Hillary. I never bought that. But I did buy into the idea of like doing a Goldwater thing, doing a post-Goldwater thing where eventually we get our Reagan and take over.
Yeah, I thought that was going to happen too. Yeah, not taking over. No. That happens on the right. Doesn't happen on the left.
All righty. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for your time tonight. Great to see you again, and we'll see you again soon.
Remember, the Bohemian Grove, one of the most faggy things.
That if you dye your hair blonde, I'm not coming out, Jimmy.
Yeah, you got.
They're not getting me. They'll never take me alive.
I really would just love to come up behind Kyle Kalinske and put my hand on his shoulder. How you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah.
All right, I'll see you guys. Take care.
All right, man. Thank
you, Jimmy. Thank you, man.
Bye-bye. Jimmy Dore, everybody. Well, that was pretty epic. 3 hours. How do you like that, folks? How do you like that? All right. Why don't I guess we're going to go straight through, take some super chats, take a break, go to our Q&A. It's going to be an epic stream. Already has been. But here we go.
This has been, we haven't done a stream this long in forever.
No, I know.
Jimmy, I haven't seen him do 3 hours with anyone in a long time.
It's going to be even longer because we got a bunch of Super Chats and Rumble rants to get to. Jake, if you're back in the booth, why don't you hit that Patreon scroll right now? Now would be a good time to smash that Patreon scroll. If you're there, you can go to patreon.com/DoDissidents and help support this show if you like what we do over here. Patrons get their name up in lights on our show credits. They also get call-in access to our Sunday post-show Q&As, one of which is coming up tonight after the conclusion of this stream exclusively on Rumble. So go to Rumble after this stream if you're not already there and hang out with us for the post-show talkback. You also get 2 bonus streams per month exclusively for patrons, paid Substack subscribers, and paid locals subscribers. So you can go to dodissidents.substack.com, dodissidents.locals.com, or patreon.com/dodissidents. Patrons are the backbone of the show. They are what censor-proof this operation. They are what keep us going. We need to build our patrons up. We are almost, folks, at our goal of 500 paid members. We are well over 450 right now, so we are really closing in on 500 paid subscribers. As you can see, that scroll's taken a long time to finish now. Once we hit 500 paid subscribers, we can afford to add a 4th weekly stream, which will be a 60-minute Rumble exclusive, uncensored live stream Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. That is an uncensored Rumble stream, 1 hour every Thursday. We're thinking of calling that the 60 Minutes Hate. That'll be the name of that stream. So there we go. Help us get there. DoDissidents.substack.com, patreon.com/DoDissidents, or DoDissidents.locals.com. If you're on locals, just hit that. If you're on Rumble, just hit that locals button right under the video screen and sign up now. And folks, if you're here for the first, second, or third time and you are not subscribed on either YouTube or Rumble, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Hit that follow button on Rumble. Our next patron-exclusive live stream is this Tuesday at 2 p.m., and it will be a banger. There's a lot of topics that we really want to get into that you've noticed. A couple topics in particular that have been really hot in the news lately that people have not put up on YouTube. Those patron streams are Rumble-exclusive streams. There's a story about what happened to Medea Benjamin at the Israel March that the YouTubers haven't touched because that kind of language is probably too hot for this place. Even though it's really not. We wouldn't be breaking any rules because we would be commenting and criticizing. But
exactly.
We're not saying trust the robot to know the difference. Right. Exactly. And Mays 227, thanks for the $5. Sent you guys an email about free tickets to South Carolina.
Oh, right. Yeah. Did I see that? I think I saw
responded.
that. And we've been so goddamn busy.
Well, thank you, N. Mays. Yes, we will definitely get back to you on
that.
All
right. Do me a favor. This is like kicking you in the nuts for doing us a favor. But can you send that email again? Because we get bombarded, especially with the article. We're just getting a lot of Substack emails, and I don't want to. I cannot guarantee I'd be able to find that.
Yeah, we are in the phase
I remember seeing that, but it was crazy in that inbox.
We are definitely in the phase of this project right now that we can call growing pains. Growing pains are when you grow fast and it's kind of you reach a point of it where it's hard to keep up with it.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at now. So we're kind of adjusting to this being really full time because we've gotten absolutely swamped with DMs, emails, Facebook messages, Substack messages. So if we missed you, we're sorry. It's not on purpose. But just know that we're getting a lot of incoming nowadays. We got a couple of you guys pitch us articles, which is fantastic. We will get back to you. We are not ignoring you. It's just like Russell said, we have been getting absolutely slammed with messages, but we'll get to them.
So somebody asked where to find the article. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, just go to dodissidents.substack.com. Russell will put the link in the chat. Paul Chu, I've got some money I can contribute to your van fund. Hang on, wrong channel. Haha, thanks, Paul Chu. Appreciate that. 007 Angelo, thanks for the $2. JD and DD in the house. 3 of the best in the biz. Thank you. Yes, that was a really fun time.
Thank you.
Laugh, thanks for the $10. If they prevent Trump from running, where do his supporters go? The 47th, if not 48th president of the U.S. could be President Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, Ivanka for VP. Look, they will make the Republicans make do with what they've got in that situation, right? I mean, the base is not going to be an easy sell on Haley, even though she is polling second now in a lot of polls. They'll just have to pick from what's left, and that'll be that if they are able to take him off the board. That's what I think.
I think, you know my opinion. It goes to DeSantis at that point.
Russell's hanging with DeSantis. Franklin Worsham, thanks for the $9.99. On election night, Trump will be up by 8. Day after, they will be tied 13 days later. After many absentee ballots, Biden will win. That's how the deep state
it's too obvious.
do it.
It's too obvious. You need to give him more credit than that. Never underestimate your enemy.
Let's take a Rumble rant here. Let's not forget our Rumble rants from Dave Gillerai. Short-lived would be any settler colonial project without having their settlers armed. I've seen thousands of videos showing Israeli settlers harassing Palestinians, with AKs and ARs, going back decades.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, in the West Bank, where there is no Hamas.
Where there is no Hamas.
They have been brutalizing the population there.
Exactly. Some of these ticker ones I'm just going to read. I will read them out loud rather than scroll them since we have a ton of chats to get to. So Reg K. Ray 76, thanks for the donation. My wife lets me watch Due Dissidents. I don't mind them. They're not abrasive. Oh, is that right? We're not abrasive? What the fuck?
What?
Are you
sure? Are you sure you're not watching Majority Report?
We were nothing if not abrasive. We are nothing if not abrasive. But she can't abide Jimmy. She thinks you're too shrill. So Jimmy's more abrasive than us. I think we're more abrasive. There's two of us. We're screaming over each other. Now she doesn't know what to do. Love you, Jimmy. Okay, so you love Jimmy, but your wife doesn't. Right.
Keaton once described our show as two seagulls fighting over the last of the matzah.
Exactly. Sloppy T Optin, thanks for the $5. TYT attacks Jimmy and Jimmy attacks back. Breaking Points have never attacked Jimmy, but he attacks them. Majority Report constantly attacks Jimmy, but he never attacks them. Why the differing policies? I am not sure. About that.
I think it's the same reason that, people always ask, why don't you go after Republicans? Why do you go after Democrats? I say Democrats have my contempt, and a lot of the Republicans you want me to go after are beneath my contempt. He probably feels that way about Majority Report. Probably feels it's beneath his contempt.
Perhaps. Palestinians, CFCU 1993 for $5. Palestinians are okay. I'm not going to read that. What else explains how they were penned? Okay, I'm not going to read that. That's a really nasty thing, and even for your $5, unless you mean that ironically, you can go F yourself. If you mean it ironically, you got to do better with your irony, because I didn't get it. T-Bone 316.
I'm curious now.
Well, I deleted it. Now it's gone. I'll tell you after.
Well, you'll tell me after. Yeah.
No, it was just a nasty racist post. So either they meant it ironically,
I see,
a racist post against Palestinians. If you meant it ironically, I apologize, although you got to do better, because if the humor is not obvious, then I got to take it at face value. My three favorite people, says T-Bone. What a treat. Can't wait to see you in Seattle, February, JD. T-Bone. Going to the Seattle show in February. Thank you, T-Bone. Appreciate that. Okay, let's go back to YouTube here. Let's go back to the East Berlin. Jump the wall again. MB1968CA. Thanks for the $10. Appreciate you, my friend. China Shill. Thanks for the $2. Here in the East rises the sun. Thank you, China Shill. Hey, China Shill, what'd you think of our China segment? Not bad tonight, huh? I did that one for you. That was a shout-out. Egg64, 666. Say it with me. This is on the day of the Sabbath. Hail Satan. Oh, yeah. Hail Satan. We must have hit 666 likes in the chat by now.
Oh, we had to have, ages ago.
Come on. Let's get some music going. We've got plenty more shows here, plenty more chats to read. Step and fetch it, $4.99. We'll always appreciate Keaton falling on his sword on Jimmy's show, although it was a small sword for the sake of the joke. Yeah, it's funny because that.
When? What?
No, because Jimmy was talking about you guys were both talking about the Italian art where the statues have the small penises.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was a good one.
I have to push back. I don't think those penises are small. I think they're perfectly average, perfectly normal. Nothing for any of those guys to be ashamed of. And that joke did well But obviously that segment was not clipped because we were just bullshitting.
Right.
So the world will not get to really see that.
That
but
was
thank you for
that was
remembering.
a good bit.
It was a good one. It was a good one. I'll have to recycle it.
I do have when I finally do my video essays for my travels, I did take video, and I think I sent one of them to Keaton because there was a big bronze statue, and I hadn't seen this before, where they made bronze pubic hair, and like it was a separate piece, and it was stuck on there. So I did a whole Italian bit about the bushy pubic hair on the statue. It's very highbrow.
Yeah, very highbrow. Hi, Jimmy.
Didn't I send that
the-
to you?
Walker.
Didn't I send that to you when I was there?
I know you sent me some photos. I don't know if you ever sent me the video of the bit you did. I'm not sure. Cool Blue, thanks for the $4.99. People who are in on the performing arts are the last such people who should ever be support of censorship. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's what we say.
tell me about it.
Yep.
Tell the old gang I used to work with.
Exactly.
Tell them that.
JD's got to come back to Raleigh and bring Kurt and DD, says Worskill. Thank you, Worskill. Appreciate that. And congrats, Russ. A hell of a second act. Inspiring. Oh, that's on the
Oh,
gig.
Derek. Yo, man. It's one of the best playwrights around.
Oh, yeah?
Derek Ahonen, man. Yeah, he's a great playwright. Yeah, he. I think he's in L.A. Are you in L.A., man? We should get together when I'm out there, man.
Yeah. That would be great.
I saw him like a year ago or something, a couple years ago.
SB, thanks for the $5. Dore's the man. The infrared Haas community. Hinkle started here. Loves you. Keep taking on the establishment. Make them panic. Thank you, SB. Appreciate you. McDougal, mock Sagar all you want, but he is mentioning that not everyone has some deep-seated passion to back Israel, Republicans, or Palestine Dems in a holy war. We want focus on America. No, I understand what he's saying. I understand his point of view, but I think that is a point of view worthy of some degree of mockery. Like, I don't see how you can just be like, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't see why anybody cares that there's a genocide going on. You know what I mean?
I mean, we're probably on the same page in the sense that it sounds like you're going all America first there. Hey, so we meet right at let's defund Israel. Right? We can agree on that? All right, so.
Of course.
Making peace, man. We're making peace right here.
Jim A., thank you for the $2. Jimmy and Du Bois, thank you. Tusker, yeah, why does Sagar care so much about the Uyghurs in China but not the Palestinians? Good question.
That is a good goddamn point.
It's a good goddamn point. We should have thought of that. I don't watch enough of the show to know that he talks about the Uyghurs, though. I just don't watch very much. But that was a good point.
I don't anymore, man. Ever since Crystal went all Marianne.
Yeah, I don't really watch it. All right, let's keep going down the list here. $4.99 from Kozetsky Bassane. Sagar is paid to act credulous and to manufacture consent. Well, he's a Tucker Carlson. You know, his point of view basically seems in line with Tucker's, right? Which is none of our business. Why are Americans so invested? You know. Which, you know, like I said, that doesn't pass my test, really. I think you should care that children are being massacred to 1,000 people a week. But, you know, Tucker is doing his own thing. Tucker doesn't provide that as a counterpoint to when Crystal said, hey, this is a wake-up call for a lot of young people the way the Iraq war was for a lot of millennials. That's true. Like, for the first time, people are seeing the evil their government is capable of. They're really, like, young people, if you grew up too young to really know what was going on in Iraq, this is the first real in-your-face, hardly the first example of their lifetime, but the first in-your-face example of your lifetime where you really see what your government is capable of.
Much more than Iraq because you didn't see it.
No,
you didn't talked about that. They didn't show it on TV. It looked like a game of Missile Command.
Exactly. Matt's retiring. Thanks for the $2. DD Lands and Dore, the best team online news team. Thank you very much. Damas, thanks for the $1.99. Never underestimate the evilness of Zionism. Exactly. Thank you. Jimmy again. Keep it up, boys. Great show. Thank you. We're keeping at it. Late one tonight, but
real.
Worth it. Worth it. By the way, folks, rumble.com/do dissidents. Yo, anybody who sticks around for the Q&A is hardcore. You are hardcore.
That is hardcore.
If you stay for the Q&A after this show, you are bros for life. We'll say to that. When you go to rumble.com/do this to hang out with us, patrons and paid Substack subscribers will have call-in access to that, but everybody is welcome to submit chat questions. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jimmy. Great show. Thank you. DC, thanks for the $5. Weird how 2016 was obviously stolen by Russia, yet in 2020, we had the most secure election of all time. Yes, well, that was what Matt Orfala made a video about, that YouTube took it down, but then YouTube changed their rules, so I guess you're allowed to make that point now, or so I hear. But, yeah, absolutely. Vroom Rutabaga, thanks for the $5. I had dinner with some friends that I haven't seen for years. One was a salutatorian, that is the runner-up to the valedictorian, and mentioned they are going to vote for Biden because they don't want Trump, FML. Well, see, that's why they weren't valedictorian. That's why they were runner-up. Right. You know,
that's
they
it.
were valedictorian. They'd know better.
They were failing.
They were second
at their attempt at being a valedictorian.
You call yourself a salutatorian. You know what I call you? Loser.
Loser. I prefer valedictorians that were actually valedictorians.
You know, in 2016, they called Hillary Clinton the salutatorian of the presidential race because you know who was valedictorian? Me. Jim Hay, thanks for the $10. Keaton, if Turkey's Erdogan gets involved and Israel retaliates against Turkey, a NATO member, does that invoke Article 5? Yeah, that's actually a great question.
That is an excellent question.
I like that question. I'm sure there'll be some exception that they'll come up with right away.
Yeah, they always manage to make it up on the fly. Yeah, they'll get the parliamentarian to deal with it.
Yeah. Vroom Rutabaga, ever wanted to invite Ron Placone to your show?
He's an idiot.
I don't know.
He's an idiot. Like I watched him actually on the Vanguard when there was all that drama going on. And I was like, you know, because I never really saw him except with Jimmy, just bouncing off Jimmy. And I was like, this guy's a fucking moron. He's speaking with great authority on things he clearly knows absolutely nothing about.
Temporal Police, thanks for the $19.99. Appreciate you very much. Butterfly B127, thanks for the super sticker. All right, we're coming down the home stretch with these folks, and then we were going over to Rumble for our Q&A. Wanda, who are ASU donors, Eskimos and Russians. Yeah, exactly. That was the Rashida Tlaib thing, right?
Yeah, I am just going to say, before I heard, you know, because I saw this on the Black Conservative, that story, Greg Foreman, and he was saying, yeah, ASU is known for being this radical campus. What I know ASU for is being at the hub of a whole porn scene, because there were a lot of articles written about girls from ASU get sucked into these websites. I guess it's legal there. I don't know how that works, because I always understood porn to be a First Amendment issue, but I guess cities and jurisdictions can ban it. That's why there's so much in the Valley in LA, because it's legal in that jurisdiction. But yeah, there have been a lot of articles written about wayward ASU girls in need of tuition money. That's what I knew it for, not its activism.
All right, so CFCU says you did mean that ironically. All right, well, then I apologize for it, but I didn't quite get it. It was a little too subtle.
You never know, man.
Yeah, you got to watch. You got to watch with that. But I apologize if I snapped at you because I didn't get your joke. China Shill, thanks for the $5. Advertisers are oppressors, so the person pays you can control your life. That's called a boss, Elon. Yeah, not that you know not that you know what having one is like. Thank you, China Shill. Summer of 1970, thank you for the $10. Jimmy, if you're interested in lucid dreaming, read Carlos Castaneda's book, Separate Realities, very educational. Thank you, Summer.
Yeah, that was we're getting into a little heavy stuff then.
Well, he's been talking about it on his show, so I'm glad he brought it up tonight. You know, I wasn't going to ask him about it because I know he already talked about it on his show. I didn't want to be like, hey, you know, that's like if, you know, John Lennon shows up at a bar. Hey, play Imagine. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be an asshole like that. I want to put him on the spot. But if he volunteered it, yeah, it was great. And why are those advertisers oppressors? Is it because their money has more power and influence? Yes, that's correct, Tusker. Thank you. So we're going to run through these, folks, and then we're going to switch to Rumble. We are almost through these. Thank you for your patience. I know some people were asking us to go to the callers first, but we got to do the callers on Rumble in case any of you guys are setting us up to get canceled. Right, exactly. You never know. It's only a matter of time before someone gives us $5 so they can get us canceled. So we have to do those over on Rumble just in case any of you crazies call in. As an Arab...
I know it's hard to believe, but we make enemies.
Yeah, we do make enemies. Exactly. As an Arab, I'm tired of endless wars. Just Google depleted uranium Iraq war. Babies born with one eye. Major birth defects. Yeah, Israeli's been doing this for decades and nothing. Thank you to all. Pro-Palestine. Thank you, Nor. Nor, I believe you signed up for our Patreon, so thank you for that as well. Will S., thank you for the $5. Wasn't the phrase "from the river to the sea" coined by Likud in reference to their Zionist policies before it was ever a pro-Palestine saying? You know, I don't know.
That's an interesting question.
That is interesting. I'm not sure.
We need to research that.
We do have to look that up so we sound less stupid next time a question like that comes up. Thank you for the $9.99, Temporal Police. Thank you, Keith M. Love you, Jimmy. Thank you. Jewel in the Machine. I came in late, so I'm 82 minutes behind, but excited. Russell's hosting the Jimmy Dore Show. Also love the energy and dialogue of the three of you. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, my friend. Okay. Vroom Rutabagas. Thanks for the $5. Milei won the presidential Argentine elections announced just now. Oh, this is another sign fascism on the rise. He is equivalent to Bolsonaro and Trump. Yeah, it's funny. I should have known that was happening. Again, a lot of these stories just fall by the wayside now with everything going on. But thank you for that. Tusker says, Jimmy Dore made me do my own political research, and for that reason alone, I'll always be a fan. Thank you, Tusker. Appreciate you. That's very kind of you. Join side, thank you for the $5. Ask Jimmy who's buying him off to go to the dark side, please. Yo, that Bohemian Grove clip's going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad he agreed to let us do it. Because it's true. Somebody's going to do it. Better us than,
Right.
You want the Vanguard to be first on that? Magnus.
I mean, honestly, I'm starting to get a little insulted. Nobody's done a hit piece on us yet.
Yeah, no, not yet. Although, actually, no, that's not exactly true. They didn't really do a hit piece on me, but Ben Burgess did a little piece of Shama talking about the UAW strike. He was more criticizing her than me, but it was her interview with me that he used for his exhibit. So, not
but if the focus was on her.
Yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't like...
I was still a little insulted, yeah.
Dude, dissidence goes full right-wing meltdown. We haven't gotten one of those yet.
Gotcha. Okay, Ryan Spence says it's definitely a Likud charter. Nick covered it at RBNs. Yeah, see, Nick is smart. We're going to learn more from him. Thank you for clearing that up. Took me a bit to see the futility of electoral politics here in Canada. 5 federal parties to choose from, no viable options. We need electoral reform. Thank you, Magnus. Shinabilly, thanks for the $5. I'm currently trying to kick my weed habit, and this conversation is immensely comforting. I appreciate all of you guys. Well, I'm glad it could help you out. Thank you. Pete Sweet. Dore and DD, 3D, great pairing. Thank you for the $2. Denton says, great show. Thank you, Denton. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Charlie, yes, Jews eat turkey on Thanksgiving. Yes, we do, indeed. And we will be chowing down on some turkey on Thanksgiving for sure. All right, we're going to take a few Rumble rants, and then we're going to switch over. So now, folks, a last call for any super chats. Looks like we're done with those, so we're going to switch to a few Rumble rants and then switch over, and we will read the rest of these Rumble rants over on Rumble for the Q&A since we don't want to keep our patron callers waiting too long. I understand this is a bit of an epic one, but hopefully for good reason. Tropical Rocket for $5 say, I can't accept October 7th wasn't a setup. The most sophisticated spyware on the planet can't monitor a barbed wire fence. Well, this is what the thing is, man. They've had a lot of intelligence that they want us to really trust since October 7th, right? Oh, we know the Hamas tunnels are under the hospital. Oh, we know where this rocket came from that hit this hospital. And, but that day wasn't working. Yeah, I don't blame you.
Conveniently.
T-Bone, I'm going to read this one because it's a scroll. Jimmy Dore is a jewel, by the way.
Sometimes you got to shut off the surveillance and turn it on again.
Yeah, exactly. But you should watch Kim Iverson's show about the Al-Shifa Hospital. Her dissection of the video published discovered contradiction not mentioned or thought by anyone else. Interesting. I will have to watch that Kim Iverson segment. Crab Eaters Real, I'm on the same journey as Jimmy. I know exactly what he means, and it's so nice hearing others I respect so much discuss it. Well, I'm glad that gives you some comfort, my friend. I mostly quit weed for the same reasons. Thanks for sharing. Thank you for that. Okay, so CFCU says, I meant it ironically, thought you'd get the deep satire and irony. Still think you would have if you read it all the way through. Take another look and tell me if I'm still wrong. All right, I will look it up. You have to understand, too, sir, I apologize, or ma'am, whoever you are, I apologize. We had to read about 85 of these, so... so I apologize if I didn't read it as thoroughly as possible, but you really led with some pretty dark stuff, which made me suspicious that it wasn't very ironic. Sometimes you got to put those jokes front and center. All right, 3 more.
It's like we're shotgunning a super chat beer.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay, so after you said Palestinians are innately, all right, there's still certain things. Because the irony is buried at the last paragraph, it makes it sound like this is a very racist thing to say. So unfortunately, because of the YouTube censors, I can't even read it. But you said, upstanding humans would die quietly. Why do you care? Okay, now I get it. I understand. All right. Point taken. And I apologize. See? I'm big enough to apologize. I'm sorry. I had you wrong. To spell it out, the state of structural genocide that existed on October 6th and had since the brutal birth of the Zionist state in 1948 is an underutilized focus. That's from CFCU. This is the person who I had misunderstood. So thank you, and I apologize. But it is Rumble. You never know. A lot of you right-wing crazies are over on Rumble. We never know. I never know who's over there. All right, last chat before the break. If you are watching and seeing the destruction in Palestine as your take is anything but what the actual fuck is wrong with Israel, you're an idiot, POS. Great show as always. Agreed, Chard, thank you. And Chard is a patron caller who is on the line, and we are going to take a 5-minute break. I don't know about you, Russell.
I was going to say, bro, we're not going right into it. I gotta pee.
I could use me a bathroom break. So we are going to take a 5-minute break, folks, and we are going to be over on Rumble for the talkback. So if you are on Rumble and you want to submit a question in the chat, please preface it with @DoDissident so we could field your question. And we have some callers on the line. I know it's a late night, but for good reason. So thank you guys all for sticking with us. If you're not going over to the Rumble chat, we will see you again on Tuesday at 2 p.m. if you're a patron, for our subscriber-exclusive stream, and Wednesday at 2 p.m. Wednesday's Thanksgiving Eve, so no evening show on Wednesday. Matinee, 2 p.m. matinee this Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We want to thank very much our friend Jimmy Dore for joining us for 3 full hours. Quite the epic show we tried to put on for you guys. I hope we succeeded. I hope it came out good for you. Go to rumble.com if you want to keep hanging out with us. Rumble.com/DoDissidents. You'll see the live stream right at the top of the feed. If not, we will see you either Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever we see you again, be it in 5 minutes after a brief intermission, or Tuesday or Wednesday. We certainly hope that you are safe and well in the interim. Thank you very much for tonight.
Is that it? You usually say be safe, be well.
Well, I mixed it up a little bit tonight.
All right. Well, that was
Don't bust my balls. We've been on for 3 hours and 35 minutes. And we got more to go. So let's do the singing bowl and let's wrap this up.
See what happens, Larry, when you fuck a stranger in the ass.
Courage.
Thank you, folks. We'll see you soon.
Please clap.